Nepal sees surge in voter registration ahead of pivotal parliament elections. Total eligible voters dropped 19 million. CPN-UML holds a massive rally in Kathmandu demanding parliament restoration. Pativara temple sees first snow of the season as devotees brave the chill. Over 300 students and staff kidnapped from Catholic school in Nigeria's Niger state. Over 300 students and staff kidnapped from Catholic school in Nigeria's Niger state. And Viratnagar Kings register their first win against Kathmandu Gurkhas in today's match of NPL season 2. I'm Shmituki Singh Tamang and this is NTV World Primetime News coming to you live from Kathmandu at 1900 hours. Now the news in detail. Nepal's Election Commission has announced a significant rise in voter registrations following the declaration of new parliamentary elections. According to officials, 837,094 new voters have been added after the Commission extended the voter registration and update period, which ended at midnight on Friday. The Commission reported that 344,914 people enrolled using biometric data, photographs and fingerprints, while an additional 492,180 new voters were registered through Nepal's national ID system. The shift to accepting national ID details for voter registration has encouraged thousands to complete the process online, reducing the need for in-person verification. Prime Minister Sushila Karki also acknowledged the completion of the nationwide voter roll update on social media, highlighting the inclusion of newly registered voters. With this latest addition, Nepal's total number of eligible voters has now reached 19,005,117, a notable increase from 18,168,023 recorded until early November. The surge in voter registration comes at a time when Nepal is preparing for a pivotal election seen by many observers as an important test of the country's political stability and democratic consolidation. For a nation navigating constitutional transitions and regional geopolitics pressure, voter engagement remains a key indicator of public trust in the democratic process. CPN-UML staged a major rally in Kathmandu as the country edges towards a tense election season. Thousands marched through the capital before gathering at Brikuti Mandap, where party chair and former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli sharply criticized the ruling coalition. Oli called for the restoration of the parliament, the formation of an all-party interim government and constitutional amendments ahead of new elections. Moves, analysts say, reflect a growing political polarization in the Himalayan nation. He argued that the previous dissolution of the House of Representatives violated the spirit of Nepal's constitution, a concern watched closely by regional partners given Nepal's strategic position between India and China. Amid criticism of the UML's volunteer wing, Oli insisted the National Volunteer Force is meant to support public safety, not intimidate citizens. Police, meanwhile, diverted traffic across central Kathmandu as the rally caused significant congestion. Nepal's 2015 constitution requires proportional inclusion of women across all state bodies and mandates that at least one-third of all federal lawmakers from each political party must be women. Although most parties have met the 33% quota, experts say women's qualitative presence in leadership remains weak. Political analysts argue that key decisions are often made informally in spaces where women are excluded, making it harder for them to rise to top positions. Despite Nepal having had women serve as President, Prime Minister, Chief Justice, Speaker, and even Chief Secretary, analysts note that women leaders still struggle to advance their own policy agendas. Beyond mandatory positions, women's representation remains low. Only about 3% of local government chiefs are women. In Nepal, the Supreme Court is working to recover case files destroyed during the Gen Z protest movement earlier this year. The fire, which erupted during the August 24 demonstrations, burned 20,000 of the court's 24,000 case files, severely disrupting judicial operations nationwide. I come back to this again. The date was September 24. Following a public notice issued on December 16, litigants, lawyers, and the Attorney General's office have begun submitting duplicates of lost documents. The court says it has already recovered more than 750 case files, while nearly 1,500 individuals are in the process of submitting additional records. Officials say temporary tents have been set up to reconstruct and authenticate damaged files as the judiciary works to restore normal operations. The date of the vandalism was on September 9. In total, 23 courts across Nepal suffered damage during the protests, further straining the country's justice system. Nepal's Patibara area, home to the famous Patibara Devi temple, has received its first snowfall of the season following light rains on Friday afternoon. The snow began last night, bringing cold to the region, officials report. Patibara, located in the Taplejung district of eastern Nepal, is a major pilgrimage site, attracting devotees from across the country and neighboring India. The temple is dedicated to goddess Patibara, revered for granting wishes and blessings, and sits amidst the scenic Himalayan mountains, offering panoramic views of peaks like Kanchenjunga. The Patibara Area Development Committee has urged pilgrims to stay cautious against the cold. Despite the chill, visitors continued their prayers and enjoyed the rare snow, with devotees arriving in large numbers from early morning. Nearby in Sakuasaba, the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development, ECMOD, has issued warnings about 4 glacial lakes, including Borun Lake, that are at high risk of bursting. Borun Lake has tripled in size over 40 years, stretching 3 kilometers long and 206 meters deep. Experts warn that accelerating climate change and glacial melt increase the likelihood of floods, posing a serious threat to lives, infrastructure, and pilgrimage routes in the region. Authorities are urged to develop early risk reduction measures to protect both residents and visitors. Time for a short break now. We shall be back with more updates. Trout farmers in Dading, who have long struggled with losses, are gradually returning to profitable production, officials say. Farmers report that their farmed trout is slowly gaining market share, with demand rising steadily. One fish farm sold 7 million rupees worth of trout last year alone, marking the highest earnings in the past 3 years for local producers. Farmers now say they are experiencing a surge in demand, with buyers actively seeking their fish. The revival signals a resurgence in local trout farming industry, offering hope for sustained livelihoods in the region. In Dolka's Bhimeshwar municipality, Ward number 8, local artisans are struggling to meet the growing demand for traditional handmade paper due to a shortage of skilled labor. With many youths migrating abroad, craftsmen face difficulties producing enough paper from forest resources like Lokta and Argeli bark. Hasta Bahadur Bujel, who has been producing Nepali handmade paper for 25 years, says while the annual demand is around 40,000 sheets, his workshop can only supply 2,200 sheets due to the lack of workers. Orders for 20, 30 and 40 gram sheets remain unfulfilled. Despite these challenges, local workers like Sabina Basnait see potential for good earnings in Nepal and encourage artisans to return. Pujel sells his handmade paper in Kathmandu and Bhaktapur, earning around 3 million rupees annually, highlighting the economic value of preserving traditional crafts. In eastern Nepal, one of the country's most marginalized indigenous groups, the Urao community, known locally as Janged or Kuduk, faces the risk of losing its language and cultural identity. In Japa's Damak Ward number 9, where Uraons live in their largest cluster, elders say younger generations are abandoning their traditional Kuduk language, rituals and nature worship traditions, largely due to limited access to education and growing linguistic assimilation. Community leaders warn that rapid socio-economic changes, including the decline of ancestral forest settlements after land clearance policies in the 1980s, have further eroded their cultural roots. Although local authorities report some improvements in livelihood since the establishment of local governments, Urao representatives say urgent measures are needed to preserve their prehistoric heritage, language and cultural practices. According to Nepal's 2021 census, the Urao population stands at 46,840, making cultural preservation a pressing concern. A new initiative in Nepal is aiming to protect vultures, a species that is critically endangered across South Asia. With some regions becoming key safe habitats, conservationists are now working to integrate vulture protection into school curricula, educating the next generation on the importance of preserving these vital scavengers for ecological balance. A report by Rujina Rai.
Nepal has taken vulture conservation seriously and become a global pioneer with strong measures like creating community-managed feeding sites and implementing a national action plan. Following this, a new initiative has begun in Dang, a southern district of Lumbini province in Nepal, including vulture conservation in students' textbook to protect vultures, a species now on the brink of extinction. Dang has the highest vulture population in the country, and teaching this subject in school is expected to build a stronger support for long-term vulture conservation. Since Dang has become one of the country's safest habitats for vulture, efforts are being made to include vulture conservation in school textbook to raise awareness among students. The campaign launched by the Center of Environmental Sustainable Development and Research in Tulsipur, Dang, follows consultations with the school principals and local officials. They highlight the need for students to understand the vital role vultures play in maintaining a clean and healthy environment, noting that integrating the topic into school studies and science subject would be effective. The center believes that including vulture conservation in school curriculum will help students appreciate their ecological importance and could also support wildlife tourism in the district. Tulsipur Mayor Tikaram Kharka meanwhile emphasizes the vulture protection is a shared responsibility and should not remain in local effort alone. He calls on the government to prioritize the issue nationally and introduce vulture conservation into school curriculum across the country.
Janakpur Dham is a city in southeastern Nepal near the border with India. It is the cultural and religious heart of the Mithila region and is famous as the legendary birthplace of goddess Sita, a central figure in the Hindu epic Ramayana. The city is known for its Janaki temple, colorful festivals, and as a major pilgrimage site, attracting devotees from Nepal and India. It plays a key role in Mithila culture, including art, music, and traditional rituals. A report.
Janakpur Dham, the cultural and religious heart of Nepal's Mithila region, is currently immersed in the week-long celebration of the Hindu festival Ram Sita Vivaha Panchami. Lord Ram and Goddess Sita are revered as a divine couple and central figures in the epic Ramayana. The festival features a series of religious rituals and cultural performances, culminating in the symbolic wedding ceremony on the 5th day of the waxing moon, that is, in the month of November. The celebrations officially begin with the traditional Nagar Darshan procession, followed yesterday by the Fulwari Leela flower garden tale. On this day, a flower garden tale, boys representing Lord Ram and his brother Lakshman are brought to the flower garden near the wedding pavilion beside Janaki temple to meet a girl, symbolizing Goddess Sita. This reenactment depicts the devotional and romantic episodes from the Ramayana when Ram and Sita first meet in a flower garden, where Sita had gone to pick flowers with her companions. The episode is reenacted each year to honor this historic encounter between Ram and Sita. Today, the third day of the festival, marks the celebration of Dhanus Yagya, commemorating the moment Lord Ram lifted and broke King Janak's divine bow, that is known as Sivadhanus, a feat that established his supremacy and led to his marriage with Sita. The festival concludes on the 7th day, traditionally called Ram Kaleva, when the symbolic wedding ceremonies of Ram and Sita are completed. On this day, the focus shifts to bidding farewell to the wedding guests from Ayodhya, India, who have participated in the elaborate week-long festivities.
Time again for a short break. We shall see you at the other side with international updates. At the G20 summit in South Africa, Ukraine's allies say they will work to strengthen a US-backed plan aimed at ending the war with Russia. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said this comes after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned his country faces one of the most difficult moments in their history amid pressure to accept a plan seen by some as favorable to Moscow. Zelensky spoke by phone with Starmer, as well as French President Macron and German Chancellor Merz, and the UK Prime Minister stressed that Ukraine's partners remain committed to a lasting peace. Neither US President Donald Trump nor Russian President Vladimir Putin are attending the summit. In central Nigeria, more than 300 children and staff have been abducted from St. Mary's Catholic School in Popiri, Niger State, in one of the country's largest school kidnappings. Authorities say 303 students and 12 teachers were taken, surpassing the 214 Chibok abductions. The attack occurred around 2 a.m. local time on Friday as armed men stormed the school, which had ignored prior government warnings to close its boarding facilities. Families describe shock and distress, with some children as young as 6 among those kidnapped. Niger State Police say security forces are searching the surrounding forests to rescue the abducted students as the nation grapples with a surge in attacks by armed groups targeting schools. A US-European rift over Ukraine has cast a shadow over the G20 summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, which began Saturday without the attendance of US President Donald Trump. Key leaders present included French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chinese Premier Li Qiang, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Trump's absence highlights tensions as his unilateral 28-point proposal on Ukraine aligns closely with Russian positions, prompting European allies to meet on the sidelines to seek a more workable multilateral approach. Leaders including Macron, Merz and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer stressed any plan must have European and NATO consensus, with Ukraine facing limited time to influence Washington. The summit also faces a climate deadlock as COP30 negotiations in Brazil continue past their scheduled end due to resistance from petrostates on fossil fuel phase-outs. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa underscored that multilateralism and international cooperation remain crucial to tackling both geopolitical and environmental challenges. The G20 represents 19 countries plus the EU and African Union, covering 85% of global GDP and two-thirds of the world's population.
G20 is the moment to respond to these.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi met with Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Friday, marking 5 years of the country's strategic partnership. The leaders reviewed progress in areas such as defence, nuclear, energy and trade, highlighting opportunities for deeper cooperation. They also discussed education, cultural exchanges and people-to-people ties, while reaffirming a shared commitment to countering global terrorism. Both leaders emphasized that stronger collaboration will enhance strategic and economic ties, reflecting their joint vision for peace, stability and responsible international leadership. Tragedy struck at the Dubai Air Show on Friday as an Indian Tejas fighter jet crashed during a flying display, killing the pilot in front of hundreds of spectators. The aircraft plunged to the ground and erupted in flames, and the pilot was unable to eject. The Indian Air Force confirmed the incident and announced an inquiry expressing condolences to the family. Eyewitnesses said the jet was performing low-altitude aerobatics when it went down. The crash, believed to be the first in Dubai Air Show history, comes as India recently ordered 97 upgraded Tejas jets to replace its aging MiG-21 fleet, highlighting both the aircraft's strategic role and the risks of high-profile aerial demonstrations. Time again for a short interlude. We shall be back with more. More from the global front. Afghanistan is racing to diversify its trade routes after a deadly border clash with Pakistan last month disrupted commerce and strained relations to their lowest point in years. The closure left thousands of trucks stranded, with perishable goods like pomegranates, figs and grapes rotting, and losses topping $100 million. Pakistani authorities cite security concerns, while Kabul urges traders to seek alternative routes through Iran, Central Asia and even Russia, where Afghan apples and pomegranates were exported for the first time. Analysts warn that while the shift could reduce dependence on Pakistan, higher costs and logistical challenges remain. The standoff has inflated food prices in border markets and threatens tens of thousands of livelihoods on both sides. China has now established over 5,100 green mines at provincial or higher levels, achieving major gains in resource conservation, ecological restoration, energy efficiency and emission reduction, the Ministry of Natural Resources reports. In the first 10 months of this year alone, more than 300 new green mines were created. Currently, there are 1,054 national level and 4,055 provincial level green mines, covering over 40% of certified operating mines nationwide. Officials say the push for green mining has also led to larger, more intensive operations, improved processing technologies, and better overall resource utilization, marking a major step forward in sustainable mineral development. US President Donald Trump met with New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani on Friday in a surprisingly cordial and productive session. Despite months of public hostility and name-calling, the two leaders discussed key issues affecting the city. Both pledged to work together to improve the lives of New Yorkers, signaling a new tone of cooperation ahead of Mamdani's upcoming term.
Groceries, the cost of rent, the cost of
It's horrible what's happening. It's a war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I was president. And it's a group. For some reason, the press has found this to be a very interesting meeting. The biggest people in the world, they come over from countries nobody cares. But they did care about this meeting. And it was a great meeting. Go ahead. We come to a conclusion. And ultimately, he'll convince me. I think they're getting reasonably close, but I don't want to predict. I would have said that would have been one of my early ones. I did 8. Thank you very much.
Now the sports update. Viratnagar Kings has registered victory over Kathmandu Gorkhas by 5 wickets in the 8th match of the Nepal Premier League Season 2 at the TU Cricket Ground, Kirtipur. Kathmandu Gorkhas set a target of 135 runs after posting 134 runs at the loss of 6 wickets in the stipulated 20 overs. Viratnagar Kings achieved the target in just 17.1 overs with 17 balls remaining to seal the win. Kathmandu is captained by Karan Casey, while Viratnagar is led by Sandeep Lamichhane. Earlier, the Karnali Yaks claimed their first win of the season, beating Lumbini Lions by 9 wickets thanks to an explosive unbeaten 114-run century from Mark Watt, while Sudhir Pashchim Royals currently top the points table with 4 points. Against Hong Kong's iconic skyline, thousands of swimmers splashed into Victoria Harbour at daybreak to swim the 1-kilometre course across to Kowloon in an annual race. About 4,000 participants took part in the event, organisers say. Hong Kong swimmer Keith Sin won the men's racing group in 17 minutes 48 seconds, while Nip Tse-yin claimed the women's title in 19 minutes 18 seconds. Olympic medalist Siobhan Hockey finished second in the women's racing group with a time of 19 minutes 50 seconds. Spectators lined both shores despite the early hour, cheering as the final swimmers powered through choppy currents. The event, now a beloved tradition, marked a vibrant return to large-scale sports gatherings in the city. We're almost at the end of our NTV World Primetime News Bulletin, but before winding up, let's take a look at the headlines one more time. Nepal sees surge in voter registration ahead of pivotal parliament elections. Total eligible voters drop 19 million. CPNUML holds a massive rally in Kathmandu demanding parliament restoration. Pativala temple sees first snow of the season as devotees brave the chill. G20 summit focuses on Ukraine as allies seek to bolster US-backed peace proposal. Over 300 students and staff kidnapped from Catholic school in Nigeria's Niger state. Viratnagar Kings emerged victorious to beating Kathmandu Gorkhas by 5 wickets in IPL. Karnali Yaks defeat Lumin Lions by 9 wickets. That's all for NTV World Primetime News. We will see you in our next bulletin at 10 p.m. with the news hour. Do join us through our social media. You can also get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smitu Gising Tamang. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs.
Will they be a misfit in near future?
More and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu, Public Service Broadcasting, PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World, taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Bhutan has been a fantastic trip so far. People come here mainly for the main target species and because birds are more easily seen.
Yungi khatoine training khandi gyamdi the autoshi jinsomdi the najimbale ta miselde nami sam phenda yoro shin.
In the valley nestled beneath the sky, where the snowy mountains reach high, the Sukteng Wildlife Sanctuary grows with life. The land of Yeti, as the people of Sukteng calls it, with tales and myths that flow through the unique culture of nomadic tribes in eastern Bhutan.
This part of Bhutan is the home to the Brokpa people, an ethnic minority of yak herders who migrated from southern Tibet in the 13th century.
The pastoral community was once home to a man with a dream. However, tragedy took place when the man was a victim of a fatal car accident. His death had a devastating effect on his family. His daughter, Ngawang Chensom, had to give up on her education. Her mother, Lekitema, grieved and felt sad for the challenges she is facing.
다지네 치게 합주미디 니lam 날마다 단어이네 치게 합주미디 the same man.
Why do I care so much for this place? Why am I supposed to stay here? I don't know what exactly is waiting for me in this sanctuary. I cannot bear to leave my village. I live in harmony with the land. A timeless rhythm so great, and my paths, although unknown, and a life without hindrance that I grew up. As I travel across this land, I see the beauty, the clean air, the majesty of nature so difficult to ignore.
Ni sa then lung khan gam de sing moto da ke na thukina or pe thong sing dene be sing shup sing de moto da ke thukina le yu thar ko gi am me la kan yu shen de in je da chi de thon pru su me de mi che to ka o da me la ba de de sem shon de yu kan yu de in je da chi de os nam so khal da os chu gi na.
Sakting is a wild haven where red pandas, Himalayan black bear, snow leopard, and musk deer hide in the forests. This is a land of myths and mysteries intertwined in perfect harmony.
And my zone is, and then as we go higher up, we're going to get the trogopans and monals and blood pheasants. So it's people come here mainly for the main target species, and because birds are more easily seen in Bhutan than other parts. So Bhutan has got more charm to looking at the birds out here.
Rising in the early hours, my heavenly dream fades with the rising sun. Descending the stairs of my happy homestay, a familiar scene reminds me the wealth of our local handlooms.
They pop and charge. Oh, it wasn't time issues. Yeah,
in a closet, hidden away, lies my collection. Colorful and cheerful memories of costumes ready to play. Drawn by the sounds of music, I like to see a group of women dancing to the rhythm of old songs. It made me feel lost in the pace and movement of the dance. Getting back on track, singing and dancing really brings the sense of togetherness and love for the traditions in my community. While walking in the peaceful village of Sakting, I could not help but feel a sense of reverence in the air. Residents spoke about sacred religious sites dotting the landscape.
Crops struggle to survive in the mountains. Now, with the introduction of greenhouse, fresh vegetables are taking flight to serve visitors to Nov.2025's homestay.
A few local delicacies in the local alcohol.
By adapting to the challenges of climate change and finding new ways to grow food sustainably, she contributes to securing a bright future for her community and the planet. All is well in the village of Sakteng, but with a growing population and increasing number of shops, the pressure on waste management becomes a challenge. Nawang's decision to stay at home reflects the value of the preservation of cultural heritage and natural resources. By promoting sustainable tourism, we can make tourism work for everyone and appeal to future generations.
This is my first time visiting any Asian country. I'm very impressed with the beauty of Bhutan, the landscapes, the mountains, the valleys. The people have been very friendly, and the weather's been nice for us. Everything's just been lovely here.
Although they bid farewell to this beautiful song, we could see their emotions that they do not express or hide. Here, everyone's eyes are sparkling and glowing with happiness. These people, their culture and their environment have touched Nawang's heart that she will never forget to go back to her village with hopes and aspirations.
So it's finally here, the big night, the launch night. Took a while, didn't it, Sivani?
You call it a while? I mean, like so many hundreds of coffee-fueled nights, and then I've already lost count, thousands of text messages, and one too many script edits, and you call that a while, Devendra?
Of course, patience has been our unofficial production partner.
Well, I can't tell about the journey or the waitings, actually, but the journey, of course, has been worth it.
So before another task, a final rehearsal comes in, shall we do it?
Let's go!
Hello there, welcome to this special dialogue episode on a special day for all of us here at Nepal Television. New venture of Nepal Television, the global voice, NTV World, is beaming live to you. On this special occasion, it demands a special dialogue. To celebrate this occasion, we have a special panel in our studios of NTV World in Kathmandu.
And yes, if we have this, I will take this privilege of introducing our guest, Devendra. This show this special dialogue, we have with us Mr. Mani Rana, BBC Nepali service, a legendary figure in Nepal's broadcasting history. And next, of course, Professor Dr. Bipin Adhikari, a constitutional expert himself, also the former dean of the School of Law at the Kathmandu University.
A very well-known female voice, Mrs. Ritu Singh Vaidya. She's the Managing Director of the Organization of Industries and Trading Houses. And also, we have with us an economist, well-known economist, researcher, Professor Dr. Arjun Kumar Baral, who is the Executive Director of SEDA.
Yeah, what we're doing today, or making an effort to, or an attempt to, in fact, is to explore the dynamics around us and see through the experts' lenses and their expert analysis the positioning of Nepal and what could be the road ahead. And since we are certainly talking about dynamics and change, we will certainly not do justice, Devendra, without incorporating the voices of the new generation. In fact, the energy of new generation, which would be incorporated in short video excerpts, which we have extracted from the interviews that we've had very recently at NTV World Studios. And among them are Miraj Dhungana, one among the pioneering of the Gen Z movement, the recent Gen Z movement, which has brought about a wave of change in the entire national landscape. And second is a practitioner who's already placed Nepal in the global market scene. That's none other than the founder as well as the CEO of Fuse Machines, Dr. Samir Maske.
The theme for the special dialogue is changing socio-political dynamics and need for a global voice. To begin with the discussion, we'd like to start with Dr. Adhikari. Dr. Adhikari, you see a wave of change has swept almost the Southeast Asia. How do you see this wave of change at this particular point of time?
The wave of change that we are going through is certainly a very notable exercise recently, basically for two things. Because this is the wave brought in the scenario by the youth of the country, and secondly, these are the people who never had any intervention in politics or in society in Nepal, in Nepal's history. This is the first time that they are really on the scene with very different perspective about politics, society, and also the change and transformation they've been thinking of.
Vis-a-vis this change, let's look at the larger picture, Dr. Adhikari, because it becomes so important for us as Nepalis, us as citizens of a small economy and a small country like Nepal, to understand the bigger picture as we deal and see and experience or live the changes that are undergoing around our close vicinity. From the new power alignment to the digital movements that are like, paving way for such sort of movements that we just saw around us, right? What is your observation? How do you see the changes influencing the very, very idea of democracy and governance?
First of all, what is most important is that there is a change in the government. So there is a point of view that the existing setup cannot probably handle many of the issues related with good governance, anti-corruption, as well as the context of rule of law and democracy in the country. And that led to the change in government, and that change was not strictly according to the parameters of the constitution, and that itself heralds a sort of change, because it gives the perspective to the political elite in the country that things could change in a different way if they don't really come up with certain commitment for transformation of the country. Similarly, the second context here is also about the poor socio-economic I think deteriorating situation, and that also has affected the millions in the country, despite that we have some sort of democracy here for the last 6-7 decades. And now that the youth movement let's say Gen Z movement, the coin of the day, has really brought in certain perspective that the business as usual cannot go have any commitment at all. That will have to be rethought of, and then the new perspective has to be set up.
A sort of democracy. We'll probably talk a bit later in the second part of this. So my question to you is, was that change inevitable, or it was just an awakening of a generation?
I think that change was inevitable. We certainly didn't know how, what and when it will come. But then this time the youths, they intervened, and in a way that was not very well contemplated by the common people. But then everybody knew that we have we don't have a democracy actually, because we have certain type of elections in the country. There is a change in government, but due to corruption and also the lack of governance standards, nobody really believed that the government represents the people, especially the most deprived and vulnerable people, and the youth have the biggest stake, because 45% of the national population, and belongs to the young people. So obviously they think that this country is not compatible with their future, and so this time what comes in is certainly remarkable, and the little intervention they had really triggered a wave of change, and that change could have enormous effect in the days to come.
One more question I'd like to just jump in. Dr. Adhikari, our constitutional vision, does it even anticipate global disruptions like this?
I think we are always, some way influenced by international events. So every change in the country in the past 7 decades were some way influenced by the change outside our political borders, be it the change in India or China or in Europe or in the rest of the world. So this time there is a sea change in the country, because most of the educated youths, they have many of them have international exposure also, and many of them are very competitive internationally. They are looking for their future in the country itself, and also want change and accommodation in the system of government here, which has been very in a way giving a very lackluster performance. And so the influence from outside had decisive impact. It's all digital, because people now are more trained to read and understand international events in the context of their country, and many of them, the students, they have exposure, and fortunately, because most of the youths, they speak English, and that has given them a sort of exposure that was not possible some decades before. So certainly the international influence is there, but it's not in any sense, it's not the political influence as such. It's spontaneous, and it has certain its own legacy. It's not affected in the sense of geopolitics or even European or American or even Indian or Chinese interest here.
Let's look at this from an economic perspective. This change, the wave of change that just swept in the country, how does that affect economically the country, and how do you see your overall observation of the recent changes there?
I think we have to see it with the transformation of the world economy, because world is also transforming. World scenarios, economic scenario is changing. First of all, it is shifting from US to China or other countries. Recently, I joined a conference in Chengdu, China, the Boao Forum for Asia. That forum also almost same issues were at the time. That is, the world is changing. It is due to digitalization or introduction of new technology, AI, and other issues also there. Suppose the blue economy is issue, and so many issues are around the world. So the same influence we are observing in Nepal's case, because our youths, our mass population, they are just every day observing the scenario, how it is changing. So almost this change, this shifting, we are just hiring from the world.
Is the lack of access, equal access to economic resources, or lack of opportunities, equal opportunities, is that one of the reasons? Do you see
there definitely lack of opportunities also, because some people are getting some resources are concentrated to some persons, that is upper class, and there is a widened gap between rich and poor, and some are haves and others are have-nots. And there are other issues also, suppose corruption and governance issues also.
How do you see it? How is it going to impact the economy in the next 5 years, let's say?
Next 5 years, I cannot say, but due to technological transformation, I think it's something changed. It is with this
a positive change, or are we going to say a negative change? That's my concern.
We expect positive change, because as a student of economics, as a teacher of economics, we always expect positive change.
How do you see this affect the governance and public discourse in developing nations like us?
From the side of the government, always trying to do something good, something change, something trying to change. But actual change, people are not, they are not experiencing, they are not getting such change. They are always almost the same position that they are in 5 years back or 10 years back. So in their life, almost they are not in a position to feel.
So you mean
change.
there's a huge gap between the people's expectations and the delivery? Right.
Now, this I want to connect the earlier statement of Dr. Baral to Mrs. Baidya. How do you see, as an entrepreneur, how do you see the recent things that has happened here in this country from an entrepreneur's point of view?
Economics is something which really makes the world go around, right? So I think, this is a very positive, positivity is in our human nature. We might go down and up at different times, but in the end, you have to have a positive approach. I would say everything could be taken negatively or positively, but it's up to us. And I think the entrepreneurs are generally very, very positive. If something has gone wrong, it has to be fixed. That is the basic nature of entrepreneurship. And from that point of view, I'm very much positive. And I think as a country, we cannot have another outlook other than positivity.
How about the Nepali entrepreneurs, Ms. Vaidya? How quickly are they adapting now, or do you still think they're thinking too locally at the moment?
If we are talking about an individual space, whether somebody is exploring it outside, I'm sure a lot of people want to or would like to, and are maybe also doing already. I think, sometimes I think the laws have been kind of in the way for us to even step outside. But other than that, I think within the landscape, everybody is trying to do their best and perform positively. On a very personal scale, I feel how you run a company is exactly how a country is run. So if you do good, barometers all match up, the same, you'll have a positive result. So I can only say I'm highly positive.
We have a seasoned broadcaster with us, a person who started broadcasting way before all these change agents were even born. Mr. Mani Rana, I'd like to come to you. After hearing the discourse of the three guests here, as a broadcaster, how do you assess the things now? The dissemination of the information during the change period in Nepal, how did you see it's happening in a global, broader perspective, not just from Nepal, but from the outer world as well?
I have to make a few comments about how the change has taken place in this country. change did happen, but we do not know whether the instigators of the change were responsible for it or somebody else was responsible for it. That's number one. Number two, the government has not been doing anything that it should really be doing. Okay? So it's time something happened. Otherwise, the election scheduled for 6 months' time or less than 6 months now is not going to happen. Apart from that, I think there needs to be positivity in thought, as everybody has been saying. We have to be positive. Otherwise, just being negative about everything is not going to work at all. Nor is the fact that if you are too positive, will it work. But I think there is still a lot that needs to be done.
You just said you had a few questions on the change itself, the agents, right? Was there an information gap, a serious information gap during this period in Nepal when the movement took place?
Well, the information gaps always exist in Nepal. Not just in this case, but in every case. I cannot say that there was no information gap. There always is information gap. You know, and nobody expected the Gen Z movement to do what it did. Okay? They haven't got a leadership. Somebody from somewhere has just infiltrated the whole system and done all this. The arson attacks, the destruction of buildings, government buildings. I mean, what was everybody doing? You know? The army went ahead and imposed a curfew the second night or the third night. But before that, I mean, what was it doing? Not even sending fire brigades to places that were being burned down. So everybody is responsible for it. Everybody has to give an answer.
Almost 2 months now, Mr. Rana. Still we are searching answers to these questions, right? So there was a serious flaw in the information flow system somewhere.
I don't think the answers will come out clearly even in the next 6 months. So forget about the 2 months that has already gone. You know? So something somewhere is lacking, something somewhere is not being done right. And I personally do not think it's going to be done right.
Right, Mr. Rana, as we are talking about this change that we all were part of, or what we witnessed in the recent past, so there's a huge tectonic shift that's undergoing the media landscape as well, not only in Nepal, but it's a global phenomena where traditional arsenals of journalism is being challenged. It's more than gaps. It's, I believe, a lot of noise in the media landscape that's happening. So in this scenario, how you as a very seasoned broadcaster gauge global socio-political dynamics?
I haven't been practicing journalism for a long time now. I took early retirement in 2003, and since then I have done very, very, very little journalism. What has been happening in Nepal is I've been interviewed by people from the 70s onwards, and every time they ask me about this, I say the media is just going overboard, doing exactly what they want without paying attention to basic facts. The media is not honest at the moment and hasn't been so for the last however many years it's been in existence in Nepal in this shape. In the olden days there was only Radio Nepal, that's it. If you wanted to listen to any important events, stories of any important events, you listen to Radio Nepal, which gave very little. You listen to the BBC, you listen to All India Radio or other radio stations, okay? Nepal, I think the media became more open and more aggressive, or it has been so for the last maybe 30 years or less. And ever since the beginning, it's been the same. There is no proper decision decisions made by the media about being straightforward and about the truth and about facts. They just say exactly what they want to say.
Mr. Rana, but the media landscape definitely had changed.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, and one aspect we cannot ignore is the audience. What do you say? Are the audience of today more empowered or fragmented?
Well, they are empowered with the wrong information. I mean, the present-day media is telling its audience whatever it thinks is correct. It's not just one. It's everybody doing the same. The language they speak is so full of mistakes. The Nepali language I'm talking about. Looking at what I did in London to what I see people in Nepal doing, it's just not comparable.
We're having a special dialogue on a special day, marking the launch of NTV World. Nepal's perspective to the world is our slogan. As Mani Rana just talked about the media, how true they are. They only disseminate what they think is true, not what is the truth. So now this brings us to the second session of the conversation in special dialogue, which will be more about carrying the momentum of the change that we spoke on the first session to the next level now. How is it and will affect us as the people of this country, socially, politically, and economically? Again, I'd like to start with Dr. Adhikari. In the long term, how is it going to affect the country, especially in terms of governance?
I think the most important challenge now is to organize the elections on time. And that's very important because this government has not been constituted according to the law of the constitution. So as soon as there is elections, we'll have a legitimate government installed, and then obviously the parliamentary process will begin. That will itself guarantee that we are not deviating from democratic standards. So that election is quite a challenge because there are some forces now coming up who think that this country cannot hold the elections because the peace is not guaranteed here. So I don't understand what does that mean, because this is the election commission in Nepal, which has already in the past held many elections like this, ever since we started with experimenting democracy, and every election was a success. So except the tiny local elections, I think, conducted during the Maoist pressure, under the pressure of Maoists. But this is possible. Now that is quite a challenge. Another challenge is to make sure that the people who get elected are not the same sort of people, because the movements are meant to set the stage for change. And now to bring in changes, you need to get new faces in parliament, and that's possible only when you reform the political parties. The present government can do it, and in fact we have been saying that they should start doing it as soon as possible, because there are at least 4 issues that must be first accomplished. The first one is obviously the democratization of the party machinery. Similarly, there is a need for financial transparency. The country has become corrupt because the parties are corrupt, because corruption, the institution of corruptions, I think they don't exist in the society. Now, if there are islands within our political system which facilitate corruption, is the political parties. So financial transparency within the political party. How does they make money? Where does the money come from? How do they spend it? And whether the people who are contributing to the political process are the corrupt people or the people like us, the ordinary people who really do it because they think it's a public institution. Similarly, the third issue is inclusion. inclusion is the constitutional commitment. Now that inclusion has been done to some extent as far as the state is concerned, but the biggest institutions in our society, the public institution, I mean, are the political parties, and they should be compelled to be, to observe the constitutional standards of inclusion, to make sure that the provision of inclusion has been complied by all the political parties. They should not be allowed to contest election. This could be done by reforming the existing laws very positively. And finally, the federalization of the political parties. Now the major issue, as I see constitutionally in this country, is we have a 3-tier federal system in the country, and each tier is autonomous to form the government or introduce the socio-economic programs of their choice in their territory. Now that has no hindrance at all. Now the real issue that we have is the political parties who mobilize this constitutional power locally or provincially are the arms of the high command in Kathmandu. So the parties are still unitary, and they are not federalized. I mean, they have seemingly administrative federalization, but not political, because what is most important at present is that each provincial or local chapters of each political party has to be 100% autonomous within the party system, so that the leaders or the high command in Kathmandu cannot dictate the formation of government provincially or locally. Now what happened in Nepal, you can see in most of the places, if there is a change in the federal government, that has impact on
just translates up to the provinces.
Exactly. I mean, without any evaluation of the situation, they just do it because that becomes the grammar of politics. So in order to avoid it, the parties should be federalized in a very autonomous way, so that they are able to give effect to the local mandate. If these 4 things are done before these elections, I'm sure all the faces in the parliament will be totally new faces, and they will obviously be accountable faces, because now they are under the control of local people. So this has not happened, and that's the biggest problem now.
Right. As Dr. Adhikari puts up, as I read between the lines, let me pick from the questions on capabilities of our framework and institutions and the gap in between. If I may move to Dr. Baral, are you equally optimistic at the present context, removal of the established forces from the governance? How optimistic are you that this is not going to invite unrest in the future in Nepal?
Okay, just I told you why I'm optimistic about the situation, economic situation of the country. Without democratic system, we will track country's transformation. It's not possible. Economic transformation is positive transformation is not possible. Let's see some economic dimensions of the country. Suppose at present, many people, many youths are going abroad for foreign employment. And we are, economy almost, it is remittance based economy. Traditionally we say it is agro based economy, now it is remittance based economy. Almost 30% of country's GDP means it is based on remittances. Means every month the figure of remittance is rising and rising. And with this situation, country just it is relying our banking system, other financial system. And our entrepreneurs also almost it is they are optimistic. I agree with Bipin sir. First of all, our democratic system, our overall constitutionally, it should be in track. Now it is in almost coma. The election with new faces in parliament. And with this situation means all these systems are interconnected.
Dr. Adhikari, is it just a political change? I think the main question and concern of the general public, is it just a political change, or do you see the risks of this fragility transcending into the socio-economic ecosystem of our country?
I think it will be a disaster if this change results into the constitutional change, because that simply means that we will be bogged down in new type of issues which we will not be able to handle so well given our experience in the past. So this is a politically we have the same machinery, but our problem is not the constitution. Our problem is the present leadership, basically the political elite of the country who have been taking the charge since the last 3 decades, but have not been really to bring in meaningful changes in the country. So in democracy, people expect that there is a change in leadership also.
Right, Ms. Vaidya, if I may turn to you, I think you are at the brunt of all these shifts ongoing all around you and even in the global sphere, right? So, how do you see Nepal's political institutions and social structures? Are they resilient enough to manage the pressure of globalization and the digitization or digital disruption?
So I think when we start looking and analyzing the situation, because where we sit today and the vulnerability, the instability that we are seeing today, I think like you heard both the experts, a constitutional expert and also at the same time economics expert, we are only the bricks in that whole system. So nobody is insulated from one another. So I think to start off with anything right now on a positive footing, you need the foundation. The foundation is we have a constitution in place. We know it's not the fault of the constitution, it is how we were dealing with the tweaking the rules. And so if we are going to do that, it's we need to recognize the problem areas. So I think we need, on a very personal, institutional, business, security is very, very important. I think we already have talked about it. Mr. Rana also in fact just now said, security I think is a first layer that we all need, whether it's on a personal level or in a business or a country's level. Second thing is we need good governance. We need the good governance, and before we go to the globe and to globalization, let's put our own house in order, is what we need to do right now. So I would think that we need to really have this governance in place at the earliest possible. If I may say that with the Gen Z movement, we've had a deep cleaning happening of the system. It's actually a deep cleaning on a very layman's term. Now how do we put the house back in order is really, really very essential for us to start thinking of anything further. Everybody's still going around their life, about their lives and doing things what they are supposed to, whether it is inside the house, in a business or XYZ might be. But for the stability, economic and social, we need good governance. And the good governance will finally lead to economic betterment, where I think every entrepreneur in this country is waiting to start performing to their fullest. Because if we don't get these breaks of irregular policies, change of policies, we can deal with the COVIDs because that's a natural phenomena. But when our own governance brings up issues like this, it needs very severe attention.
It's more serious than COVID. Okay, Mrs. Vaidya, that's an interesting observation of an entrepreneur as well. Now I come to Mani Rana again. At this point, you're pretty critical of the media, that's earlier. Now, at this sort of situation, how should the media be? How it should be? What sort of role, a constructive or more critical, what mode the media should be in at this point of time?
As far as I am concerned, the media in Nepal is going to be doing exactly what it is doing now for the, I don't know how many more years. How long have we been talking about good governance? Has there been good governance? Who's responsible for this? The people who bring these governments into power. Can we say
to some part media is also responsible for
Absolutely,
this?
Absolutely.
So what is the course correction now? How can they correct their course now?
I think the media should now focus on being more truthful to its audience. Okay? Not what they've been doing so far. If they can do that, that would be a great change that will happen in Nepal. Otherwise, we keep talking about good governance, we keep talking about what has been going wrong for all these years, nothing's changing, nothing's being corrected. We are responsible for that because we are the ones who bring in the governments.
What would it take for our media culture to shift from reaction to reflection?
I really don't know because, you see, every part of the media is affiliated to some political party or the other. As long as that is going on, how can you expect change? You cannot. You see, they are always dictated to by the political parties, political leaders. You see? So as long as they keep doing that.
Also, the emergence of a digital media landscape had made it more easier for propagandas like that to spread.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's made life easier for people like me as well, because you don't have to turn on the radio or the television set. You just look at the phone and it tells you to some extent. But as I keep saying, the media keeps telling lies all the time.
Well, let's come to the same point, Mr. Rana. It has made your life easier, so that means you definitely do follow the present-day new media, digital media. Now, how do you, let's say, take the information? How do you filter it? Let's say, okay, this is the right one I should take, and this is probably a fabricated one, or I should have some doubt.
Okay, it's not just the Nepalese media that
it's the global
does that.
Scenario.
Having lived in England for a long time, I'm interested in what is going on there.
Yeah, definitely.
You see, you look at some English or British media, and they keep saying, oh, Keir Starmer is going to be over in the next weeks, next few months or whatever. That I have stopped reading altogether because it's not true. And then all of a sudden they have news about the king or his family. That is also not true. You learn from...
So is it the source you should really be very much looking into, or the authenticity of the, let's say, disseminator you should be looking into? To
well, what I do, I tell you what I do. If I have not heard the news on television or on radio, I listen to both. I watch TV and I listen to the radio twice a day. Okay? If I haven't listened to it on the news, on radio or television, then I say, okay, this is, that's how I do it.
Right. If I may turn to Ms. Vaidya now, just building on what Mr. Rana just said, I'm sure you also follow news updates and stories all over the world, and you travel, you get to meet people while, doing your business. Do you sometimes feel that Nepali stories lose something when they are told in languages of global trends? Have you ever experienced such instances or reflections, met with such reflections of your own?
Well, I can't pinpoint a single incidence, but elaborating on Mr. Rana's, I would say that how I would like to read news is that don't read it from only one source. So, when you read it from many sources, you can then read between the lines as what it is said. But actually, I can see the grievance that Mr. Rana is coming from is because news reporting should be about what is right. You have to go into the depths of the subject to know what exactly what was. But what's happening is I think we have all started playing to the breaking news, who's first. And I think that's where a lot of times things go wrong. But yes, I think taking it with a pinch of salt, the way to balance is it that maybe, hear it from many sources so that you get to know where it's coming from actually.
That's an interesting point. We would like to hear from two of our other guests as well. How do they consume information at this point of time? Dr. Baral, coming to you. How do you consume information right now, and what are your sources?
In our society, many people getting information from social sites, suppose like Facebook, other social media, which is providing right information and which is providing wrong information, which is misinformation. It's very difficult to identify. Even we intellectual persons, we are intellectual persons, we are misguided with misinformation. Which is right, which is wrong?
Dr. Adhikari, I'm coming to the same question to you. If you have time, when you have to consume information, which is your favorite platform, which is the way you do it?
Most of the time, I'm happy with broadsheets to read most of the morning news. and the rest, from different sources. But we can take the 15-minute BBC Nepali service as an example. I mean, it's just 15 minutes, but it's the most independent news outlet in Nepal on Nepalese issues, because when they interview somebody, there is another one to contest it. So similarly, when they read something, they always give both, first, second, third perspectives, and they don't end up with abrupt conclusion on things which are very serious. And these are the common sense, principles that have not been applied in Nepal. Most of the time, when you select people, for example, you organizing this, forum, I mean, you must have considered certain facts before inviting us on board, right? Similarly, but if you are independent, free, and impartial, you end up doing things in a very different way. But the same thing, if it is done by another media outlet, in Kathmandu, let's say there are 3, 4, 5 very big media houses, they will obviously first ask that what is your opinion on this particular issue. I mean, there will be a sort of censorship before you are invited. So based on your opinion, you are on board or not.
Right, you all mean just to confirm, Dr. Adhikari, we were not influenced by anybody to set up this panel.
I'm sure you have not done. Mostly, whether it is Radio Nepal or NTV or even Gorkhapatra, I think it's a government outlet. But then a government outlet has to balance with the demand of the common people, as well as cater to the needs of the government.
Now we have shifted to public service broadcasting now, so that makes another shift.
The fact remains that you are government funded, and the appropriation bill in Parliament, allocates you resources necessary to run your program. So you survive because of independence and impartiality, which the government must also guarantee, because we are in a democracy and this is a public program, and that compulsion is not there for many others. They consider it as a business byproduct, something that that you establish because you have a certain business stake.
Right.
And
so
once
if I may
you
intervene, what I read from the panel is source and selection matters. It really matters.
And also, obviously, I think, if I may add, I think it's what is happening is what I think is a clear voice. What you're seeing is that I think we all acknowledge that a lot of times media is being weaponized, and that is a wrong policy.
That's very true.
This leads me to a very interesting question to Mr. Rana. I'd like to ask you: is present-day media a business or service?
It's obviously business. That's what I think. I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I am on the belief that nobody is writing news and making television programs. I'm not talking about you. I mean the independent stations. I don't think they're doing it as a public service. They're doing it to make money. Look at how much advertisement commercials there are when you listen to any TV or radio station.
I also have an answer to your question. I think it hardly matters whether it is business or service. The real issue is whether the media persons are professionals or not. I mean, whether they are skilled or not, whether they maintain certain professional standards or not. Do they go by code of conduct? Is there a professional association which really takes charge when the media norms are violated? And finally, the issue is whether the people who are considered incompetent are filtered out in the process, and if there is a scope for it, certainly the question of ownership is not very important.
We are moving on to the next segment now, where we discuss how important is media. Can it do more to institutionalize the changes? I would come to you with the how question, Mr. Rana. How can modern media meet the consumption demand of information that has been extremely accessible, but, as we all agree, extremely irresponsible as well?
I don't know how long it's going to take for the media to be responsible, but there is hope. I mean, you know, people are changing, and I think it's very, very important that the media does take that responsibility to heart and be careful about how it goes ahead. It has to go ahead properly and in the right direction. This is something that I've been asked and I've been talking about for the last 30 years or more. And my answer hasn't changed because the situation hasn't changed. You see, but there is still hope, and we can still expect the media to do things better for people like us to be able to be interested in it.
If you were mentoring a young journalist today, Mr. Rana, what would you tell them to focus on?
The truth. Not that I am a perfect person in what I did or I do, but I think if they focus on the truth instead of going around in circles looking at what this one is doing and that one is doing and to get ahead of them, I think if they focus on the truth and facts, it will be much better for them and us.
Vis-a-vis this statement, if we may turn to Dr. Adhikari, what's been your assessment of media in reference to the disseminating of information during the recent Gen Z movement?
I think we have, you know, the whole the environment in Nepal is the people, not just people, but every outlet here. I mean, it's like, you know, they have activist, you know, thinking. So you are not noted if you are not activist, if you don't speak aloud, you know, with some, you know, harshness or, you know, maybe with a certain contempt or, you know, aggression in your remarks. So that has been there everywhere. And most of the media people here, I mean, it's a profession of young people. I mean, we have, you know, media persons like Mr. Rana, you know, that very few. You can see that most of them are younger people, especially on online, and we still maybe lack enough training. I mean, about capacity as well as, you know, the resources at their disposal. But more or less, because we have, you know, many outlets, the truth has to come out. And if the readers are smart, obviously they can choose, you know, the right information, find right news.
Right, Ms. Ritu Vaidya, if I may ask your insights, I think we all agree that Nepal long has had seized the limelight on issues like social taboos, including chaupadi and so on, right? Poverty, the focus on the spotlight has mostly been on the grim side. Do you think a shift is needed there, or do you see any needed shift in the media as well?
So I think what I feel is truth, a reconciliation on what is the fact. Even if today, let's say, all this is a venture. News creation is also a venture. But to keep yourself away from commercialization, or in spite of the commercialization, to be able to maintain your own personality, to bring out the truth and to state the facts is something which is expected of media always. Other than that, I think, yes, I think you, like I said, I mean, media can be of great use, can be weaponized, is a commercial venture. In this whole scenario, to bring up very strong issues like what you said, the chaupadi and all of that, that is a subject which really needs to now be brought out by maybe, let's say, the media. I hope not the Gen Z movement, but you know, I mean, not to the way it happened, because the thing is that, you know, we need to bring it out that is it a hygiene issue or is it a religious issue? It was never a religious issue. It was a hygiene issue, whatever happened in the past. So today, if and today's amenities, with all the amenities that we have available to ourselves, we have to change it. I lend my voice to it. I've said it many times before also. And I think, yes, media should definitely get involved in it, because I think it's a huge pain point for all the women in Nepal.
Allow me to ask one question here, Mrs. Vaidya. You said media can be weaponized, right? As an entrepreneur, have you ever weaponized or used media for your interests?
I'm not in the business of media.
No, as an entrepreneur, for your business purpose or motives, have you used media? Or
No, I
do media
wouldn't.
entrepreneurs want to use media for their business purposes?
So I would, I think we can see examples everywhere. In this very globalized world, we always learn from one another, right? So you see everywhere in the world, you see the most prosperous countries to the least developed also, where a lot of times the media houses are controlled or owned or completely funded by a certain XYZ person.
And also the advertisement policy.
Even the advertisement policy, like I said, we live in a very commercialized world, of course. I mean, we are commercializing anything and everything. I think media, source of information also has gone into that, because it becomes
So you have not tested the vulnerability of media?
I don't intend to.
We go to Dr. Baral now. Now, economically, we have so many facts and figures in media. What sort of change you want to see from the media when it comes to disseminating information of the economics or the field of finance?
Media persons should understand basic economic information, economic ideas, economic data, what is the meaning of just suppose GDP. And there are so many interpretations of Nepal is in prosperity, suppose any party in government, they call Nepal is in good position due to these figures. And opposition says Nepal is a very bad position because there are so many, so there are so many confusion, so media persons should clearly disseminate what is the reality, and they have to understand the basic ideas. Suppose what is GDP, how to calculate it, what is the figure, means remittance figure, what will happen with this remittance. Nepal is in good position or it is in bad position. Some says Nepal is in a very bad position, the remittance goes up, but other figures are very bad. So we have to analyze, we have to change. So I request media persons, you have to know what is the meaning of these figures, how to interpret it. You have to consult with some economic, those who are in economic issues, data analysts or something. So with this proper information, right information, just everything is going.
So you see there's a room for change in there as well. We're having a special dialogue on a special day, on to the fourth and the last final session of this discussion. Now, the theme of the last part is, does Nepal need a global voice? We do have some video statements from some of the recent change makers of Nepal. One is an entrepreneur, an academician, who turned his academics interest to a thriving industry that became the first industry run or founded by a Nepali origin person to be enlisted in NASDAQ, the US Stock Exchange, Fuse Machines. And the other one, a pioneer who in fact engineered the wave of change in this country. There are many, but he's one of them. So let's hear from them first before we enter into the discussion.
A lot of times there's a lot happening in Nepal, like more recent events, but it is not covered in international news and given the same level of depth and information as we would like, especially for Nepali diaspora. They want more information, like more information direct from source and truth and so forth. But a lot of times international news may not cover it. So in those times, having a very authentic voice directly from Nepal is super important, because Nepali diaspora absolutely needs it. The world has changed, right? There's a lot of digital media, a lot of the news gets consumed in the platforms and so forth. So while there is risk of a lot of misinformation and so forth, having an authentic voice in a digital framework in many of these platforms and outside of these platforms is very important.
I think it is very important for there to be a national media that takes our country's voices internationally. Yes, people in the foreign countries, other countries, I think they do have a different idea about things that have happened in Nepal. So yeah, so because of this misinformation, it is very good that something comes directly out of the source, that being from the national media of the country. I think there needs to be an authentic media, yes, but it has to be pushed through online platforms. So I think digitally going is the way to go for the future. So I think yes, we have to be authentic, yes, and we also have to be focused to broadcast digitally as well.
Namaste and congratulations to all viewers of Nepal Television World Channel, home and abroad. Today is a historic moment. This is the day Nepal starts speaking to the world in its own voice. The NTV World opens a window for global audiences to see Nepal through Nepali eyes, through stories told with understanding and passion. For many years, the world has known Nepal mostly through the eyes of outsiders, the foreigners who climb Everest, who visit Himalayas and other beauty spots. But Nepal is so much more. It's a birthplace of Lord Buddha, a crossroad of cultures, a very young democracy full of energy and ideas that grow in front of our eyes. It's a country facing climate change and devastating disasters, but it's a people who always stand up, always rebuild, always move forward. As a public service broadcaster, Nepal Television has a special mission: to inform, to connect, and to build understanding between its people and with the world. Quality storytelling in English can make Nepal's voice strong, credible, and respected throughout the world. I have worked closely with Nepal Television, and I have seen the incredible talent and passion of its team. They are storytellers who capture the real spirit of Nepal, its warmth, courage, and compassion. So to everyone at NTV World, congratulations. And to NTV World Channel, wishes to become a home of authentic stories, a bridge to global audiences, and a proud symbol of Nepal's voice to the world. Thank you.
So we heard from some of the change makers, the recent change makers that have hit headlines in the country, in almost all the media. In this last part of the conversation, which is themed, Does Nepal Need a Global Voice? I start with Mr. Rana. Mr. Rana, has Nepal been seen and heard the way it should have been?
International media talks about a country is like when there's a war, when there's a major accident, and even with accidents, they only care about aircraft mishaps. They don't care about traffic accidents. Okay? This is a fact. It's very easy to say, yes, our country needs to be talked about in the international media. Of course it does. But I mean, what are we going to talk about?
My question was, whatever has been heard and seen so far, should it be the same or could it have been different?
I think it's going to remain the same. Because as I just said, I mean, news agencies are only worried or concerned about something like an accident or a war. Okay? Look what happened when the Palace massacre happened in Nepal. I mean, the whole world was talking about it. Okay? After a while, it's settled down and finished. Nepal, whether Nepal as a country existed or not, nobody knew. So this is what I mean. I mean, this is going to go on forever. Not just with Nepal, with every country. It's the same thing.
But with Nepal's own voice, will we be able to fill that gap or make a difference?
What are you going to talk about Nepal to make it interesting for an international audience?
Allow me to just show a recent example. For example, there were few foreign medias who recently said the movement, the entire Gen movement, was instigated by a Facebook ban, for example. And that was the narrative set almost across the world initially. While the ones who were on the streets themselves were saying, not because it's a Facebook ban, it's because That might have triggered it, but that's not the only agenda. So some sort of false narratives have been set at times by foreign media about our issues. In that void, can we have our own perspective?
Well, you just said it. I mean, the Gen Z movement was something that was interesting to the whole world. That is why there was so much coverage of it. Okay? Now, we're still in trouble.
Yeah.
We still haven't sorted things out here right. We're still in trouble. Nobody's paying attention to it. What are you going to do to emphasize that? How are you going to do it?
You mean content would be pivotal in determining the success or impact that we would be able to create?
Internationalize this stuff.
Definitely, as you suggested, Mr. Rana will try to globalize things.
That is it. That's exactly what globalization
maybe
is.
Starting from Nepal issues, and ultimately we'll reach the point that you have said, probably be like that, the foreign outlet. But initially, we're starting with our local voices to the global audience. Now, this is a common question to rest of the guests here. Does Nepal need a global voice?
Nepal should provide information about Nepal's scenario, suppose climate change, its biodiversity, and so many issues we have. So peace-loving country we are, and with in global forums, global forums, suppose BOAO, just I told you, BOAO, BIMSTEC. In these forums we have to suppose what is ecotourism of Nepal, what is the potentialities of tourism sector. We have to disseminate our ideas, our voices in global forums.
Coming to Mrs. Vaidya.
So I think you're talking about like two aspects of the whole of this issue. What you're saying, the globalization of our voice. One is that, do we have content? How do we create the content? Again, it cannot be fabricated content. We need to start strengthening this basic fabric of our society. Education. Today, if I have to think of, while you were asking this question, which is the last news which I thought which was other than film glamour, which keeps coming up so much, whether you put on an Instagram or whatever, a Nobel Peace Prize, somebody who did a great invention, whether we broke the speed of light. Why is this coming to me just now as you were talking about? Because there was an achievement there. That achievement created a content which became worldwide news. One is we make ourselves so strong and have such large achievements that people want to talk about us. The other is whether you mean that, whether how we will take our voice outside to the world is, yes, increase our network of dissemination of information, whether it is Nepal Television, who has offices, let's say, in a Doha or in America or whatever. That is a way of taking your daily news there. But if you want attention for the right reasons, we have to strengthen the basic fabric of a society, good governance, strong education, and a whole lot of such gyan.
Over to Dr. Adhikari, your say now.
I think yes. I mean, that's a very fundamental issue for us. We need to have our media presence internationally, and for two things. Firstly, we need to tell the world who we are. I mean, in terms of our language, our culture, our demography, our economy, international investment, foreign affairs, tourism, so many things. I mean, there are issues that we need to tell the world about, and also, to respond to them through an international media outlet which is open 24 hours, and anybody who is interested to come to Nepal or form an impression about Nepal can immediately, get back to. So that is the first concern. And secondly, we need to know that we need to make the country visible, because we are a small country. And because we are small, we have to compensate ourselves with things which make us big. And media, certainly, you say, Mr. Rana was talking about Al Jazeera. I mean, the value that Al Jazeera created for Qatar is open to everybody. And why we can't do it? In fact, we are on the most majestic part of the world. and whatever we have, is something which many people, many countries don't have at all. So, many people I have seen that they forget, they cannot, remember the word Himalaya, and they start saying Alps. You see, that is the significance, the identity of Nepal. So we have to sell it. Now, being small, we need to, speak aloud. We have geopolitical issues also. You see, the moment we start, for example, when there was, the royal carnage, you see, every country, every media outlet in the world had its own story, because we were not able to tell our story, right? We didn't speak aloud in a language that they can comprehend in. So they started fabricating news, and so assassination became a murder by the crown prince. So to this day, we don't know what happened in fact. I mean, when Premadasa was killed, it became, an assassination. When Ziaul Haq was killed, it became an assassination, right? When Indira Gandhi was killed, you repeated the same word. It's simply because we didn't have our own voice.
Our narratives were being said by the outside.
So for the visibility, to speak to the world, we need to have media presence, and I would say not just global, but it should be in the best form possible. And then what Mr. Rana said, maybe we don't have enough stuff at present to speak out to the world, but then there are many issues in the world that could be that we can partner with and use the forum for protection of our own interest on international matters. Now that you have started doing it, congratulations. And now when you start doing, obviously this is a process of learning also, we'll get to a point where we can compete with many others. So resource is not a problem, it's the attitude which is a problem, I think.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to all our guests and panelists. Definitely consider this as a move from Public Service Broadcasting Nepal as the first marker stone of what Mr. Rana envisioned. This could be, the potential could be up to that level in the future. Thank you so much for your value time, thoughts,
Thank you,
and your perspectives.
I'm sure this is going to extend beyond this dialogue show, the special dialogue session here, as we mark the launch of NTV World tonight, and we made an attempt to offer you different varying lenses, varying perspectives on the very issue of change that we are living at the moment. And this is happening on the night of the launch of NTV World, which is PSP and Nepal Television's international wing, where we intend to share our very own perspectives on our very own stories and happenings to the globe.
To the audience, stay tuned as NTV World comes to you in all different forms in the digital market as well as the traditional one. Thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you.
Ukraine's allies will seek to strengthen a U.S. plan to end the war with Russia when they meet at the G20 summit in South Africa, UK's Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has said. The summit begins a day after President Volodymyr Zelensky warned Ukraine faced one of the most difficult moments in their history over pressure to accept the plan, leaked details of which have been seen as favorable to Moscow. Zelensky held phone talks with Starmer and the leaders of France and Germany on Friday. Afterwards, the UK's Prime Minister said Ukraine's friends and partners remained committed to securing a lasting peace once and for all. The widely leaked US peace plan includes proposals that Kiev had previously ruled out, including ceding eastern parts it currently controls. Washington has been pressing Kiev to accept and send senior Pentagon officials to Ukraine earlier this week to discuss the proposals. But there is nervousness in Europe over what has been perceived as a set of terms heavily slanted in Moscow's favor. As part of the White House's plan, Ukraine would be obliged to cut the size of its army and pledge not to join the NATO military alliance. Trump warned on Friday that Ukraine would lose more territory to Russia in a short amount of time and that Zelensky is going to have to approve the plan. The US president said he had given Ukraine until Thursday to agree to the plan, Thanksgiving in the US, which is described as an appropriate deadline. Russian troops have been making slow advances along the vast front line despite reported heavy losses. During a meeting with the Security Cabinet on Friday, Putin confirmed the US had presented its proposed peace plan and said it could be the basis for a settlement. Putin said Russia is willing to show flexibility but was also prepared to fight on. US President Donald Trump met New York City's newly elected Mayor Zohran Mamdani at the White House in what was billed as the political showdown of the year, but instead became a praise fest. In his election victory speech, the self-described Democratic Socialist mayor called Trump a despot. And before Friday's meeting, the president's spokesperson had billed Mamdani's visit as a communist coming to the White House. But standing side by side, the two men struck a surprisingly conciliatory tone. Over and over, both men emphasized their shared interest in addressing New York City's affordability crisis. They smiled often, and Trump even appeared amused as reporters asked him about the political attacks Mamdani had fired his way. The tone of the meeting appeared to strike political observers off guard, but offered a signal that both men understand that tackling the affordability crisis is critical to their political success. Whether the truce will last once Mamdani takes office on 1st January remains to be seen. Both men deflected multiple questions about their previous statements and pivoted back to surprise.
We had discussions on something. I'm not going to discuss what they were, but that I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually.
The president expressed hope that Mamdani would be really a great mayor. Later, Trump added he was confident that he can do a very good job. Mamdani and Trump traded political barbs throughout the mayoral election. A reporter in the room on Friday reminded the two men that Trump had called Mamdani a communist and Mamdani had referred to the president as a despot. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa welcomed his counterparts with French President Emmanuel Macron, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and Chinese Premier Li Qiang among the attendees. About 42 countries and institutions are being represented at the meeting, but the U.S. under President Donald Trump, who has condemned South Africa's position as the host, will be absent. Last week, the U.S. President denounced South Africa's leadership of the G20 and said he would not attend, citing alleged discrimination against South Africa's minority white population and inaccurately alleging a genocide of white farmers. Washington, a founding member of the group, is next in line to take over the rotating presidency from Pretoria, and South Africa's President Ramaphosa has promised to symbolically hand over to an empty chair if necessary. South Africa as a host will emphasize on issues which affect global South countries and is hoping to persuade leaders to collectively place their commitment to addressing topics from economic inequalities to improving development financing for vulnerable countries. South Africa will also lobby countries to commit to scaling up their spending on climate disaster resilience and disaster responses globally, increase the amount of climate finance flowing from richer to poorer countries, provide better debt restructuring and relief for poorer countries via international financial institutions and bilateral lending, and prioritize local communities and source countries amid a race among global powers for access to critical minerals. Herders in North China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region have started their annual winter migration, driving thousands of camels from desert grazing ground to warmer pastures. The winter camel roundup is underway in Inner Mongolia's Alsa League. Herders are venturing deep into the Badin, Jiran, and Ulanbu deserts by driving pickup trucks and motorcycles, traveling hundreds of kilometers to locate and retrieve their camels. Over 2,000 camels were released into the desert for free-range grazing during this summer. As winter approaches, the animals will be moved to sheltered enclosures for supplementary feeding, protecting them from harsh weather while giving desert pastures time to recover. Rounding up camels is no easy feat. Veteran herders follow camel tracks and droppings across sparse desert vegetation. They often made about 4 round trips from base camps to the deep desert, distances that can stretch 200 kilometers one way to bring the scattered animals home. The entire operation typically takes about a month. Alsa Lake, home to China's largest camel population, has a total of 169,000 Bactrian camels, accounting for approximately one-third of the national total. Located at the foothills of the Taurus Mountains within the boundaries of the Turkish ancient city of Selce, which dates back to 500 BC, Adam Kayalar or man rocks attract great interest for local and foreign tourists. The conglomerate rocks were created as a result of the combination of sand and gravel areas rising from the seafloor with swell and miles. Adam Kayalar, attracting great attention with a resemblance to Cappadocia, are made of towering conglomerate rock formations that resemble standing humans. The rocks that remind of standing humans give the area its name Adam Kayalar. Due to its visual resemblance to the environment depicted in the Hollywood movie Avatar, the region is also preferred as the Avatar land. The height of these rocks varies between 10 to 70 meters. With its rare geological formations, rich history, and stunning seasonal colors, the region continues to captivate both nature lovers and history enthusiasts. The Guatemalan government has successfully repatriated 29 Mayan archaeological pieces made of clay and ceramic that were held in the private collection in Mexico, the country's Ministry of Culture has announced. Among the returned items is a striking zoomorphic jug decorated with 2 jaguars symbolizing night and day. The piece dates from the late post-classic period 1250 to 1524 AD. The artifacts were voluntarily handed over by a Guatemalan expat living in Mexico who brought them back via air transport. Guatemalan officials say that these returns reflect a broader commitment to protecting and reclaiming national heritage, particularly given Guatemala's rich Mayan legacy, which extends across modern-day southern Mexico. A self-portrait by legendary Mexican artist Frida Kahlo sold for $54.66 million in New York on Thursday, setting a new record for the price of a painting by a woman, the auction house Sotheby's had said. The sale of Kahlo's 1940 artwork titled El Sueño, which translates to the dream, breaks the previous record in this category, set by American artist Georgia O'Keeffe, whose 1932 painting Jimson Wee sold for $44.4 million in 2014. A Gustav Klimt painting, Portrait of the Elizabeth Lederer, sold for $236.4 million at the Sotheby's in New York, marking another record for modern art. Also in the same auction, Maurizio Catalan's solid gold toilet titled America faced $12.1 million, serving as a provocative satire on wealth. As the Lunar New Year approaches, the centuries-old craft of incense making is once again bringing vibrant color and busy activity to Vietnam's traditional incense villages, where artisans prepare millions of fragrant sticks for worship, festivals, and export. In the outskirts of Hanoi, bright red incense sticks are laid out in circular bouquets across courtyards, streets, and rooftops, creating a striking landscape that has become iconic on social media. The village, known for producing incense for more than a century, is one of the largest suppliers in northern Vietnam. The process remains largely handmade despite the availability of machines. Local officials say the tradition not only preserves a unique craft but also supports hundreds of families. In recent years, the village has also become a tourism hotspot, attracting photographers and international visitors seeking to witness vivid scenes firsthand. The closing ceremony of China's 15th National Games was held in Shenzhen, South China's Guangdong province, featuring a dazzling array of seaside performances and high-tech displays. One of the ceremony's major highlights was its integration with the city's coastal landscape. The event featured a performance in real seawater for the first time, with synchronized swimmers and members of the Dragon Boat team performing underwater together, forming a four-level human pyramid symbolizing unity and perseverance. The emotional highlight came as the game's flame was extinguished. As the music ended, the lights on their instruments dimmed one by one while the spectators illuminated the venue with their mobile phones, turning the arena into a sea of stars. The games featured 34 sports and 419 events in the competitive program, as well as 23 sports and 166 events in the mass participation program. The sporting event set 8 old records, 5 old youth records, 13 Asian records, 10 Asian youth records, 14 national records, and 7 national youth records across disciplines including athletics, swimming, shooting, weightlifting, track cycling, and sport climbing. The Hope Championship for Amputee Football has concluded in the Gaza Strip after 4 consecutive days of competition. The championship was organized by the Palestine Amputee Football Association as part of efforts to support the injured and affirm their continued participation in official sports activities. Most of the players participating in amputee sports team were injured in the wars and military operations over the past years in the Gaza Strip. The organizers aim to integrate thousands of others who were injured in the recent war following the announcement of the Gaza ceasefire. The championship carries added importance this year, taking place in the first month following the Gaza ceasefire, a period in which rehabilitation programs and community initiatives have become crucial for restoring stability. Organizers say the championship highlights not only athletic resilience but also the broader social and psychological recovery of those affected by conflict.
AI brings in a lot of augmentation and efficiency gains, which will not necessarily replace the human, but produce a lot more efficient human, almost like a superhuman, where the person will be able to do more jobs in less amount of time. And that efficiency gains could impact overall economic output, which could then generate a lot more new kind of jobs.
Will they be a misfit in near future?
More and more people should learn how to use some of these tools, because if you don't use it, I don't know if misfit is the word, but you will be left behind.
Actually, when I was 16, back in 2015, I was at a music festival. This music is called bluegrass that I play, and I was at this bluegrass festival, and this person named Tara Linhart. She is amazing. You can talk to her more, but she had a fantastic project called the Mountain Music Project. And I heard this project of Nepali musicians and bluegrass musicians coming together and fusing the music. And I thought it was really, really cool to see this cross-cultural collaboration. But I really just wanted to get back to music. And so I reached out to Tara. I had an opportunity to get some funding. And I emailed her randomly. She was in Bhutan at the time. And I said, hey, I want to set up a music project in Nepal. Can you connect me with some of your buddies? And she got on a WhatsApp call and started giving me the lowdown of how awesome it was. One of the people she introduced me to was actually Prince's father, Sham Nepali. And we met in New Hampshire. And we jammed together and had a great time. And he said, oh, when you get to Nepal, you have to meet my son. He's so great. He'll play music. You'll play music together. I was like, yeah, whatever. Okay. Like, every dad is going to say that about their son. Like, is it going to be great? Well, then 3 months later, I showed up in Nepal, and I had only brought a mandolin, and I wanted a guitar to write some songs on. So I called up Shamda, and I said, hey, can I borrow a guitar? He said, yes, come meet my son. And so I met Prince in Kirtipur, and we started playing that day. And then we sat down and we started playing, and it was just like magic. It was just sort of this instant connection. That was pretty special and crazy to me that we grew up on opposite sides of the world, and there are American musicians who I don't vibe with. We don't have a connection. But me and Prince, it was just an instant connection. And so we started jamming together.
It's a love song that my great-grandfather composed, and we're gonna fuse with another bluegrass love song. Sunny, sunny, ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी सानी सानी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्रा कोर्ने चस्मे दाजु झिल्के मिल्के जुल्फी मात्रा कोर्ने दारी जुङ्ग दन्त देखाइ मेरो मन चोर्ने दारी जुङ्ग दन्त देखाइ मेरो मन चोर्ने नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय सिबर काकी छोरीलाई नजिस्काउन हे परुलाई हाय सिबर काकी छोरीलाई सनी सनी ए झिल्के नानी कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल कोरेकी जन्म दिने
भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा जन्म दिने भगवान त हुर्काइदिने आमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा कसले हेर यति राम्रो भइराइदियो जमा सानी सानी एझुके नानी कति राम्रो कपाल लेखी सानी सानी एझुके नानी कति राम्रो कपाल लेखी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल लेखी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल लेखी हाय हाय कति राम्रो कपाल
As a young man out riding out on western lanes in the state of North Dakota, I found my Nellie Kane, found my Nellie Kane. Well, she was living in a lonely cabin with another man. 5 years she had waited for him as long as a woman can, as long as a woman can. And I don't know what changed my mind, felt that I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, she hired me at work that day to help her till the lands. In the afternoon we planted seeds, in the evening we held hands, in the evening we held hands. And her blue eyes told me everything that a man could want to know. It was then I realized I would never go, I would never go. And I don't know what changed my mind, told that I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. Well, many years have gone by, weeds have grown up tall. I became a father to him, she became my all, she became my all. And I don't know what changed my mind, till that I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had for Nellie Kane. No, I don't know what changed my mind, till that I was a rambling kind of love I can't explain that I had Well, first of all, I just fell in love with Nepali culture. I love momos, I love dal bhat, I love it all. I love this beautiful country. I think our message to the world, one of them is that we want to show more people the beautifulness of Nepal. I think that from my perspective, I love Nepali folk music, but in this country, sometimes people haven't valued it. They've looked to the West for other influences. And so one of our goals is to bring up Nepali folk and fusing it. We're not just doing pure folk music, but to show that this is a vibrant, evolving history and tradition that is still relevant today. And then I also think to people abroad, and especially to Nepalis, I want to show them that they can take their instruments and their culture and they can bring it to the world, and that it's so amazing. I mean, everyone who I know maybe they don't know so much about Nepal, maybe the only thing they know is that Mount Everest is there. But then once they try a momo, once they hear some music, then they love it. And so we want to just share this music with more people and share the cross-cultural collaboration. I know I've been saying this for a couple of years now, but because we recorded an EP for one day, and then I've been gone from Nepal for the last year, and the hard drive just sat, and no one did anything with the files yet. So we finally got the files going, and we are finally working on our debut EP that will feature a lot of these songs, including the next one, which is one I wrote a couple of years ago.
whirlwind. Is there even a point of it all? 'Cause at the end of the day, just a speck in the frame, promise again, slowly and I say, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I sing, hallelujah, let it burn, and I sing hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. And I sing, hallelujah, I'm on fire, I'm on fire. And I sing, hallelujah, let it burn, and I sing hallelujah, 'cause I can finally feel something instead of just nothing at all. Cause when my nightmares come, it's when I lose my mind. No, I can't bear this endless ticking of time.
Well, right now we really want to go abroad, and in particular, my dream is to bring the band to the U.S., to these festivals that I grew up going to, because I think it's so cool. I love playing the music that I grew up with, but with tabla on it, and the beat is dropping. It's so awesome. But right now we've been having a little bit of trouble figuring out with the visas, especially right now, so we're working on that. And then also being abroad, it's very difficult when I've moved back to the US recently, and so when we're far away, it's hard we can't make music in the same way, but it also means that the times when we are together, I've been back for a month, are just extra special because we get to make music together.
वीरताको चिनो, इतिहासको निशानी, राष्ट्र निर्माणको किल्ला। आधुनिक नेपालको निर्माणको लागि पुर्खाहरूले युद्ध लड्न विभिन्न क्षेत्रमा गढी र किल्ला निर्माण गरेका छन्। ती किल्लाहरू वर्तमानमा इतिहासका साक्षी हुन्। सम्भावित बाह्य आक्रमण रोक्न तथा दुश्मनहरूसँग मुकाबिला गर्न उपयुक्त स्थान रोजेर सैनिक कौशलको प्रयोग गरी गढी तथा किल्लाहरूको निर्माण गरिन्छ। नेपालमा रहेका करिब 200 गढीहरूको आआफ्नै विशेषता रहेको छ। बढी हात हतियार सहित दुश्मनका फौजहरू पराजित भएको यी महत्वपूर्ण गढीहरू अहिले इतिहासका प्रमाण बनेर बसेका छन्। इतिहासका विभिन्न कालखण्डहरूमा राजा महाराजाका शासन, हस्तक्षेप, आक्रमण, प्रत्याक्रमणमा सिन्धुली साक्षी भएर बसेको छ। यही साक्षीको प्रमाणिक दस्तावेजहरू र जनश्रुतिहरू नै सिन्धुलीको ऐतिहासिक वैभव हो। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको पश्चिमी भेग तथा हालको हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकामा पर्ने यो गढी 13औं शताब्दीमा निर्माण भएको इतिहास छ। मकवानपुर र काभ्रे पलाञ्चोक जिल्लाको सिमाना नजिक रहेको यो गढी राजधानी काठमाडौँको रक्षा कवचको रूपमा लिन सकिन्छ। मकवानपुरी सेन राजाको मूल दरबार मकवानपुरमा थियो भने सहायक दरबार अर्थात् किल्लाको रूपमा हरिहरपुर गढीलाई लिने गरिन्थ्यो। 2200 राजाको भाषामा ती दुवै कोटहरू हुन् जहाँ मकवानपुरे राजा बेला बेलामा गएर बस्दै गर्दथे।
सेन राजाको वैकल्पिक दरबार कोट हरिहरपुर गढी, हरिहरपुर कोट हो त्यो। हामी गढी भनिरहेका छौँ। पछि हामी राजाको अस्थायी मुकाम हुनलाई जहाँ राजा गएर अस्थायी रूपमा बस्छन् र यदि मेन राजधानी मकवानपुरमा राजदरबारमा कसैले हमला गर्यो केही गर्यो भने वैकल्पिक कहीँ त गएर बस्नु पर्यो, फेरि लड्नु पर्यो भनेपछि यस्तो स्थितिमा राजाहरूले ठाउँ ठाउँमा कोटहरू बनाउँछन्। सेन राजाहरूको पनि आफ्नो राज्यभित्र विभिन्न ठाउँ उनीहरूले कोट बनाउँथे जहाँ दरबारमा गएर राजा 4 दिन बस्थे, 4 वर्ष बस्थे, 4 महिना बस्थे भन्दा यो हरिहर इन्द्र सेन राजाले बनाएको यो चाहिँ अर्को एउटा वैकल्पिक मुकाम थियो राजा बस्ने। र पछि नेपाल एकीकरणको युद्धमा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले 1819 विक्रम सम्वतमा मकवानपुरको दरबारमा हमला गरिसकेपछि अन्तिम राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहका जेठान दिग्बन्धन सेन, उनका मन्त्री कनक नीति बानिया यी लगायत उनका श्रीमतीहरू अब गोर्खालीले हमला गर्छ भन्ने कुरा उनीहरू थाहा थियो। अनि राजाका अब रानीहरू, छोरीहरू, महिला, केटाकेटीलाई पहिला नै हरिहरपुर गढी पठाइसकेका थिए, हरिहरपुर दरबार कोटमा पठाइसकेका थिए।
हरिहरपुर गढी वरिपरि सेना बस्ने ब्यारेक, देवी देवताका साना ठूला मन्दिरहरू र अलि तलतिर बाक्लै बस्तीहरू थिए भन्ने इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। एक थरीको इतिहास अनुसार राजाहरू लोहङ सेन, राघव सेन, हरिहर इन्द्र सेनले यो कोट बनाए उनकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर कोट नाम राखिएको थियो भन्ने समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। अर्का थरी अनुसार सोही समयमा सिम्रोनगढका राजा हरि सिंह देव थिए। उनले यो गढी निर्माण गर्न लगाएकोले यो गढीको नाम हरिहरपुर गढी रहन गएको भन्ने भनाइरहेको छ। तत्कालीन सिम्रोनगढ राज्यका कला, संस्कृति तथा अन्य भौतिक सम्पन्नताले निकै वैभवशाली भएको पाइन्छ। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा सिम्रोनगढका राजा हरि सिंह देव थिए। यी राजा ठाकुर वंशका थिए। विक्रम सम्वत 1381 मा दिल्लीका मुसलमान गयासुद्दीन तुगलकले यस सिम्रोनगढ राज्यमा भीषण आक्रमण गरेको थियो। आक्रमणमा राज्य ध्वस्त बनाइएपछि राजा हरि सिंह देव आफ्नी रानी देवल देवी तथा राजकुमार र विद्वान मन्त्री चण्डेश्वर सहित भागेर नजिकैको पहाडमा लुकेर बसेको र आफ्नो राज्य जोगाउन सफल भएको इतिहास सुन्न पाइन्छ। सिन्धुली जिल्लाको तीनपाटन भन्ने स्थानमा हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु भएको कुरा इतिहासकारहरू बताउँछन्। इतिहासकार लुजियानो पेटेकले हरिसिंह देवको मृत्यु टीपाट भन्ने स्थानमा पुगेर भएको भनेका छन्। यो टीपाट भन्ने स्थान नै हालको तीनपाटन हो। राजा हरिसिंह देवले सुरक्षित रहन बनाएको भएर यो किल्लालाई हरिसिंहपुर गढीको नामले चिनिन गएको एक थरीको भनाइ रहिआएको छ। राजा हरिसिंह देवले मन्त्री चण्डेश्वरको सल्लाह बमोजिम त्यही स्थानमा सानो किल्ला बनाई रहन थाले। पछि पछि सिम्रोनगढका विद्वानहरू, साधुहरू, कलाकारहरू, कालीगढहरू पनि हरिसिंह देव भएकै ठाउँमा रहन थाल्नाले हरिसिंह देवले स्थापना गरेको त्यो सानो किल्ला एउटा राज्यको रूप लिने अवस्थामा पुग्यो। पछि यो किल्लालाई राजा हरिसिंह देवकै नामबाट हरिहरपुर गढी भनेर चिनिन थालिएको हो। पछि पश्चिम नेपाल तर्फबाट मुकुन्द सेन नाम गरेको योद्धाले ठूलो फौजको नेतृत्व गरेर हरिहरपुर गढी कब्जा गरेका थिए। पछि ती मुकुन्द सेनले आफ्नै नामबाट राजधानी मुकुन्दपुर बनाए शासन सञ्चालन गर्न थाले। तत्कालीन मुकुन्दपुर राज्यको नामबाट नै हालको मकवानपुर नाम रहन गएको हो।
अब यो कसले बनायो भन्ने कुरामा दुईटा कुरा छ। एउटा चाहिँ सिम्रोनगढका राजा कर्णाट वंशी राजा हरिहर सिंह देवले बनाएको हो भन्छन्। अब यो यदि हरिहर सिंह देवले बनाएको हो भने यसको यो गढीको उमेर चाहिँ 650 वर्ष जति भयो र त्यसो नहुँदाखेरि यो मकवानपुर राज्यका राजा हरिहर सेनले बनाएको हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हरिहर सेनले बनाएको गढी चाहिँ बढ्दा चाहिँ त्यो ऊ देखिन्छ, प्रमाणित देखिन्छ। किनभने तपाईँले मकवानपुर गढीको रूप त्यसपछि तपाईँले चाहिँ यो हरिहरपुर गढीको रूप हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि यो चाहिँ अलमोस्ट एउटै छ। भनेपछि मकवानपुर त हरिहर सेनको राजाको हो, हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि त्यस्तै किसिमको गढी बन्नुको मतलब चाहिँ के छ भने यो एउटै राजाले निर्माण, एउटै राजाको पालामा एउटै कालीगढीले बनाएको हो भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ प्रमाणित हुन्छ। त्यसो हुनाले हामीले हरिहर सेनले बनाएको भन्ने मान्छौँ। हरिहरपुर गढी एकदम कलात्मक छ, किनभने गढीको दुईटा विशेषता हुन्छ, एउटा रम्पार्ट हुन्छ, एउटा मोट भन्छ क्या, दुईटा अङ्ग्रेजी हुन्। रम्पार्ट भनेको चाहिँ गढीबाट माथिबाट शत्रुहरूको गतिविधि हेर्ने रम्पार्ट भयो। अब मोट चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ भनेदेखि शत्रुहरूलाई चाहिँ सर्टेन ठाउँभित्र आउन नदिनको लागि चाहिँ खाल्टो खनिन्छ वरिपरि है, त्यो दुई खाले गढी हुन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढी चाहिँ तपाईँलाई दुईटै छ, यो रम्पार्ट पनि हो र यो मोट पनि हो। यो चारैतिर पोलिगोनमा धेरैवटा चाहिँ भुजा भएको जस्तो चाहिँ ठुलो चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ ठुलो स्पेस छ। त्यो स्पेसको चाहिँ साइडमा चाहिँ मोटहरू भनेको खाडीहरू खनिएको छ र त्यो खाडीमा अहिले तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो खाडीमा पानी भरिदिइसकेपछि र त्यो खाडीको बिचको पुल हटाइदिइसकेपछि शत्रुहरू चाहिँ मेन त्यो गर्भगृहमा चाहिँ त्यो मेन त्यही ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो अलि रणनीतिक हिसाबले महत्त्वपूर्ण ठाउँमा चाहिँ त्यो आउन नसक्ने गरी बनाएको छ।
नेपाल एकीकरणका अभियानमा राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले सिन्धुली गढी सँगसँगै हरिहरपुर गढीमा 300 बढी गोर्खा फौजलाई तैनाथ गरिएको समेत इतिहास रहिआएको छ। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्व र उपस्थितिमा विक्रम सम्वत 1819 पुस 22 गते भएको एकीकरण लडाईँमा यो गढी तत्कालीन गोर्खा राज्यमा एकीकृत भयो। यसै गरी चितवनको परेवा कोट गढीमा पनि नेपाली सेनाको अर्को टोलीले हमला गरी विजय हासिल गरेको थियो। सन् 1767 मा काठमाडौँमा लडाईँ गर्न आएको ब्रिटिस सेनालाई तत्कालीन गोर्खाली सेनाले सिन्धुली गढीमा परास्त गरेर भारत तर्फ फर्काएको थियो। गोर्खाली सेना र ब्रिटिस सेना बीच भएको त्यो लडाईँ गोर्खाली सेनाको विजयको रूपमा स्थापित हुन पुग्यो।
राति चाहिँ यो एक खालको ह्युमिलेसन हो, यो एक खालको चाहिँ यो चाहिँ अपमान गरेको हो, तपाईँलाई दरबारमै दिनुपर्छ, यो सहायक दरबारमा यति पर ल्याएर यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा राख्नुको मतलब चाहिँ तपाईँमाथि अपमान हो भनिसकेपछि पृथ्वीनारायण शाह चाहिँ त्यहीँबाट चाहिँ एकदम चाहिँ उनीहरूको कुरा सुनिसकेपछि त्यहीँबाट रिसाएर निस्किए होइन। निस्किएपछि वास्तवमा उनमा चाहिँ त्यो अब म यो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई पनि मैले कुनै पनि बेला मैले एकीकरणमा म यसलाई चाहिँ म आफ्नै गोर्खाभित्रै म मिसाउँछु भन्ने उनले अठोट गरे। तर त्यतिखेर बडा त्यो भद्र राजा हुनुहुन्थ्यो, उहाँको ससुरा हेमकर्ण सेन हुनुहुन्थ्यो होइन। अब हेमकर्ण सेन हुँदै त उहाँले केही गर्न सक्नु भएन। तर पछाडि दिग्बन्धन सेन राजा भइसकेपछि विक्रम सम्वत 1819 मा चाहिँ त्यो मकवानपुर राज्य चाहिँ एकीकरण भयो, गोर्खामा एकीकरण भयो। र गोर्खामा पनि एकीकरण हुँदा पनि अहिले तपाईँले जहाँ छायाङ्कन गर्न गइरहनु भएको छ त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीको एकदम ठुलो भूमिका छ। त्यहाँबाट मकवानपुर राज्यबाट भागेर तत्कालीन राजा र भनौँ न दिग्बन्धन सेन र मन्त्री कनक सिंह बानिया चाहिँ भागेर हरिहरपुर गढीमा लुकेर बसेका थिए। त्यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा पनि गोर्खाले राइड गरिसकेको, गोर्खालीहरूले चाहिँ त्यहाँ पनि चाहिँ युद्ध गरिसकेको, उनीहरू भागेर उनीहरू चाहिँ नजिकैको अवध राज्यतिर मीर कासिमसँग चाहिँ सहयोग माग्न जानुभएको थियो त्यतिखेर। भनेपछि त्यो नेपाल एकीकरणको सन्दर्भमा पनि त्यो अन्तिम पटकको लडाईँ भएको ठाउँ चाहिँ त्यो हाम्रो मकवानपुर राज्यलाई जोड्ने क्रममा अन्तिम पटक भएको ठाउँ पनि हाम्रो हरिहरपुर गढी नै हो।
एकीकरण गर्दै अगाडि बढिरहेको गोर्खाली शक्ति विरुद्ध कान्तिपुरका राजा जयप्रकाश मल्ल विदेशी शक्तिको खोजीमा थिए। उनले बेतियामा रहेका ब्रिटिस काउन्सिलर ग्लाडिङलाई ब्रिटिस ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारबाट आपतकालीन सहायताको लागि आग्रह गरे। गोर्खाली राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले नेपालको आन्तरिक मामिला भएको र यसमा बाह्य हस्तक्षेप नगर्न चिठी लेखे। तर कम्पनी तर्फको सरकारले पृथ्वीनारायणको आग्रहलाई अस्वीकार गर्दै कप्तान जर्ज किनलकको नेतृत्वमा 2400 सेना तथा सहयोगी समूहका साथ नेपाल आक्रमणको लागि ब्रिटिश ईस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी सरकारले खटाएको भनाई इतिहासमा भेटिन्छ। किनलक पटनाबाट 17 अगस्त 1967 मा हिँडे। तर जब उनीहरू ढुङ्ग्रे बासबाट सिन्धुली गढीको लागि अघि बढ्दै थिए नेपाली सैन्य टोली हरूले अगाडि र पछाडि दुवैतिरबाट आकस्मिक आक्रमण गरे। किनलकका थुप्रै सेना मारिन पुगे। पछि 1600 जति घाइते सेना लिएर जनकपुरतिर फर्के र उनले अर्को आक्रमण बागमती नदीको किनार गर्ने योजना बनाए र निशान हरिहरपुर गढीलाई बनाउने निधो गरे। उनका 700 सेना घाइते थिए, तर पनि उनको दोस्रो सैनिक अभियान 20 सेप्टेम्बर सन् 1767 मा हरिहरपुर गढीका लागि सुरु भयो।
अब यो सिन्धुली गढी चाहिँ आजभन्दा 256 वर्ष अगाडि को यो इतिहास हो। यसमा चाहिँ इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीले चाहिँ जयप्रकाश मुलालाई, काठमाडौँको राजा जयप्रकाश मुलालाई मद्दतको रूपमा चाहिँ आएको थियो। त्यो बेला चाहिँ पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको चाहिँ युनिफिकेसन क्याम्पेन चलिरहेको थियो। जयप्रकाश मुला डराएर इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीसँग ट्रुस माग्यो। त्यो बेला यो ठाउँमा लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको ले पठाउनु भएको वंश गुरुङ, वंशराज पाण्डे, श्रीभद्र उपाध्याय त्यति बेलाका कमान्डरहरू थिए। त्यसलाई 500 चान्चुन गोर्खाली फौजले 3500 4000 इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको फौजले चाहिँ हराएको ठाउँ हो यो। यद्यपि त्यो समयमा इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी काठमाडौँ छिरेको भए आज नेपाल रहन्थ्यो रहन्थेन भन्ने कुरामा पनि प्रश्न चिन्ह रहन्छ। त्यसकारण यो गढीको चाहिँ आफ्नो इतिहास छ र त्यो बेलामा वंशराज पाण्डे मेन कमान्डर, उनले यो सबै यो ठाउँमा चाहिँ नि एउटा फल्स फन्ट्रेस बनाएर यहाँ जस्तो जनावरहरूमा गाई गोरु भेडा सबैमा चाहिँ नि यो सिङहरूमा होइन ढुङ्ग्रो बालेर एउटा फल्स फन्ट्रेस बनाएर देखाएको थियो। यद्यपि त्यो बेला तत्कालीन गोर्खाली फौजमा 500 चान्चुन मात्र ट्रुप्स थियो। अब त्यो बेला चाहिँ नि तिनीहरूलाई यही यो पौवागढीबाट आक्रमण गरेर उनीहरूलाई परास्त गरे, हराए। त्यो बेला क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ घाइते भयो, अरिङ्गाले टोकेर भने अरू कप्तानहरू चाहिँ अन द स्पटै डेथ भएको थियो। अनि त्यसलाई चाहिँ बनारसमा गएर क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ मरे भन्ने छ। उसले पनि आफ्नो क्याप्टेन किनलोकले लेखेको इतिहासहरू पनि, उसले लेखेको इतिहास पनि अब हाम्रै ठम्बेलतिर पनि त्यो किताबहरू पनि पढ्न पाइन्छ। भनेपछि यो गढीको धेरै महत्त्व छ र यद्यपि यो गढीमा गोर्खाली सेनाले हारेको भए नेपाल रहन्थेन भन्ने चाहिँ प्रश्न चिन्ह रहेछ। त्यसको महत्त्व छ।
पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले हरिहरपुर गढीको सुरक्षाको लागि रामकृष्ण कुँवरलाई तैनात गरेका थिए। जब किनलक गोर्खाली फौज नभएको बेला हरिहरपुर गढीमा पाइला टेक्न पुगे, त्यतिखेर किनलकले हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला डाँडाको टुप्पोमा भएको र राम्रा इँटहरूले बनेको पाएका थिए। त्यो गढीको कुना कुनामा ढुङ्गा हाल्नको लागि ठाउँ बनाइएको थियो। गढीको बीचमा ठूलो इँटको दरबार थियो, जसलाई उनले मकुमानी राजाले आफू बस्नको लागि बनाएको होला भने अनुमान गरेका थिए। दरबार नजिकै भीमसेनको मन्दिर थियो र छेउमै हस्ती हाडले बनेको खम्बामा विभत्स रूपले सर्पको टाउको कुँदेको देखेका थिए। यति धेरै वास्तुकलाहरूले सुसज्जित हरिहरपुर गढीमा आज भग्नावशेष बाहेक अन्य चिजहरू छैनन्। हरिहरपुर गढीमा गोर्खाली फौज तैनात थिएनन्। रामकृष्ण कुँवरको नेतृत्वको गोर्खाली सेना हरिहरपुर गढी भन्दा उत्तरतिरको डाँडामा रहेका थिए। त्यस डाँडामा कम्पनीका सैनिक पुग्ने प्रयास गरे पनि सफल भएनन्। सिन्धुलीको लडाईँबाट हारेर भागेका अंग्रेज क्याप्टेन किनलकको फौज पुनर्गठन भई बागमतीबाट यो गढी हुँदै काठमाडौँ अर्थात् कान्तिपुरतिर बढ्दै गर्दा यही क्षेत्रमा फेरि पनि नेपाली सेनाले हमला गरी हराएको थियो। अंग्रेज फौजको अगाडिको टोली यो गढी भन्दा करिब 2 किलोमिटर उत्तरसम्म पुगेकोमा नेपाली सेना र त्यहाँका जनताले समेत ती अंग्रेजलाई काटेर भगाएको समेत इतिहासमा उल्लेख भएको पाइन्छ। सोही कारणले सो ठाउँलाई जितपुर नाम राखियो। अंग्रेज विरुद्ध लडाईँ जितेको ठाउँको रूपमा परिचित उक्त स्थानमा विजय स्मारक समेत बनाइएको छ। त्यसपछि किनलक कान्तिपुर अभियानलाई त्याग्न बाध्य भए र उनी फर्किएको भनाई विभिन्न लेखहरूमा समेत भेट्न सकिन्छ।
मकवानपुरको राजा पनि भाग्ने कुरा त आएन, त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाईँ हुन्छ। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह नै जेठान त्यहाँ हारिसकेपछि दिग्बन्धन सिंह राजा, उनका मन्त्री फेरि र सेना त्यहाँबाट भागेर कहाँ गए त? हरिहरपुर कोटमा गए, जुन हामी गढी भनिरहेको छौँ। त्यहाँ 4-5 महिना बसिसकेपछि मात्रै अनि पृथ्वीनारायण शाहले फेरि यताबाट तपाईँको यो धुलीखेलपट्टिबाट यो चाहिँ यो तिमाल कोट तिमाल भने तपाईँले सुन्नुभएको छ। तिमाल कोट तिमाल हामी भकुण्डेवेसीबाट पूर्वतिर लाग्यौँ भने एउटा बाटो जान्छ, त्यसलाई तिमाल कोट पनि भन्छ, कोठिमा नि हो। त्यहाँ ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ, त्यहाँ धेरै 1 महिना लडाइँ हुन्छ त्यो जित्नलाई। त्यसपछि सिन्धुली गढीमा लडाइँ हुन्छ हाम्रो 2 चोटि। आज सिन्धुलीगढीकोमा जित्छ 3 दिनपछि फेरि उसको सेनाले फेरि हराउँछ गोर्खाले। पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफै रोक्छन् त्यसपछि आएर 3 दिनपछि आएर त्यो सिन्धुलीगढी जिते। त्यसको 2 दिनपछि त्यहाँबाट हरिहरपुर दरबार पुग्छन् भने कोटमा पृथ्वीनारायण शाह आफू अगाडि बसेर हरिहरपुरमा ठुलो लडाइँ हुन्छ र हरिहरपुरको लडाइँमा अब हार्यो, फेरि मकवानपुर सेना हार्यो, राजा भागे, खोडाघाटपट्टि भागे।
किनलक सहितको फौजलाई खाद्यान्नको जिम्मा लिएका जनकपुरका दानदेव चौधरीले समेत गोर्खाली फौजलाई साथ दिएपछि बिरामी परेका किनलक पटना फर्के र उतै देहत्याग गरेको इतिहास रहिआएको छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीमा मकवानपुरका युवराजसँग खटपट भएको करिब 23 वर्षपछि सोही स्थानमा नै विशाल मकवानपुर राज्यले गोर्खा फौजसँग हार खायो। यसरी नेपालको एकीकरणको अभियानलाई सिन्धुलीको हरिहरपुर गढी क्षेत्रले ठूलो योगदान गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित रहेको छ। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको दोस्रो चरणमा मेजर जनरल डेभिड अक्टर लोनीको डिभिजनले हरिहरपुर गढी र मकवानपुर दरबार क्षेत्र 2 ठाउँबाट हमला गर्न अगाडि बढेकोमा यो गढीमा पहिला लडाईँ सुरु भएको थियो। अंग्रेज कर्णेलहरू कर्णेल केली र कर्णेल होलले 16 फेब्रुअरी सन् 1915 मा दुईतिरबाट यो गढीमा हमला गर्दा नेपाली सेनाको हार भयो। यो लडाईँ नेपालीले हार्ना साथ नेपालले सुगौली सन्धि गर्न प्रस्ताव पठायो र 2 डिसेम्बर सन् 1816 मा सुगौली सन्धि भयो। त्यसपछि नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्ध अन्त भएको थियो। नेपाल अंग्रेज युद्धको यो अन्तिम लडाईँ समेत थियो। तो प्रहारको उद्देश्य राखी तयार पारिएको गढीको मध्यभागमा दरबार रहेको छ। आपतकालीन अवस्थाको लागि पानी सञ्चित गर्न बनाइएको ट्याङ्की समेत प्रष्टै देख्न सकिन्छ।
त्यहाँ चाहिँ ठुल्ठुला ढुङ्गाका चाहिँ शिलाहरू कुदेर हैन, त्यो ढुङ्गा तपाईँ यत्र तत्र तपाईँले पाउनुहुन्न। त्यहाँ चाहिँ हजारको संख्यामा त्यस्ता ढुङ्गाहरू छन्। त्यो ढुङ्गालाई चाहिँ कुदेर मिलाएर एकदम राम्रोसँग पर्खाल बनाएको छ। अत्यन्त प्रोटेक्टिभ वाल त्यहाँको तपाईँले हेर्नुभयो भनेदेखि त्यो चाहिँ एकदम त्यो अहिले पनि मलाई अहिलेको मिलिटरी चान्चुने मिलिटरी आक्रमणबाट पनि त्यो केही हुने वाला छैन, त्यस्तो किसिमको छ। र खास गरी अब त्यहाँ चाहिँ सिन्धुलीगढीमा चाहिँ यो जब इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना हारिसकेपछि क्याप्टेन किनलोकले हरिहरपुर गढीबाट चाहिँ काठमाडौँतिर जान्छु भनेर हरिहरपुर गढीतिर गए। त्यसपछि हाम्रो चाहिँ जङ्गबहादुरको चाहिँ जिजु हजुरबाको पनि हजुरबा चाहिँ रामकृष्ण कुँवरको तैनाथीमा चाहिँ 300-400 गोर्खाली फौजहरू चाहिँ लगेर त्यहाँ एउटा चाहिँ जितपुर भन्ने ठाउँ छ, जितपुरको डाँडामा चाहिँ राखिसकेका थिए। क्याप्टेन किनलोक चाहिँ काठमाडौँ पस्नको लागि हरिहरपुर गढीमा रात बिताए। त्यतिखेर उनी धेरै बिरामी भइसकेका थिए। हरिहरपुर गढीमै फेरि त्यहाँ एउटा शक्ति छ। हरिहरपुर गढीमै पनि त्यो इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीका सेनाहरू बिच चाहिँ विद्रोह भयो। आफू बिरामी पनि भयो, यता सेनाको पनि विद्रोह भइसकेपछि उनले अनि काठमाडौँ जानको लागि बाटोमा रामकृष्ण कुँवरको नेतृत्वमा गोर्खाली फौज पनि भइसकेपछि उनी हतोत्साही भइसकेपछि त्यहाँबाट उनले चाहिँ के गरे, काठमाडौँ जानलाई चाहिँ उनले चाहिँ त्यहाँबाट छोडे। काठमाडौँ जान सकेनन्, त्यसरी फर्किएर आए। र त्यो फर्किएर आएको हरिहरपुर गढीबाट जब त्यो क्याप्टेन इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनीको सेना फर्कियो, त्यो फर्किँदाखेरि तर त्यतिखेर ढिलो चाँडो चाहिँ ब्रिटिस इस्ट इन्डिया कम्पनी चाहिँ हारेको कुरो अमेरिकी स्वतन्त्रता सङ्ग्राममा पनि त्यो कुरो चाहिँ रिफ्लेक्ट भयो।
गढी प्रवेशद्वारमा अहिले काठको पुल जस्तो भए पनि गढी सञ्चालनको बेला यसमा फलामको ढोका रहेको थियो। ढोका खुल्दा सोही ढोका नै पुल बनेर आवत जावत गर्न सकिन्थ्यो भने ढोका बन्द हुँदा सो बाटो बन्द हुन्थ्यो र आवत जावत गर्न सकिँदैन थियो। मकवानपुरको राजाको वैकल्पिक गढीको रूपमा चिनिने हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला संरक्षणमा राज्यले समेत चासो देखाएको छ। हरिहरपुर गढी नेपाल र नेपालीका लागि गौरव र प्रतिष्ठाको धुरी हो। दुश्मनले पाइला टेक्न खोज्दा गोर्खाली सेनाले शिर छेदन गरी विजय प्राप्त गरेको इतिहास अझै जीवित नै छ। रणनीतिक महत्व बोकेका यी गढी अनि ऐतिहासिक सैन्य धरोहरमा त्यतिखेर कोरेर बनाइएका ढुङ्गाहरू मूर्तिहरू देख्न सकिन्छ। पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको यो गढीको करिब 80% भाग सुरक्षित रहेको देख्न सकिन्छ।
गढी देख्ने बित्तिकै कुनै पनि मान्छेले नेपालको राजनीति, नेपालको सामाजिक एकीकरणका कुराहरूलाई त्यो आफूलाई त्यति रुचि नराख्ने मान्छे पनि यदि त्यो ठाउँमा गएर त्यो स्ट्रक्चर देख्यो भनेदेखि उसले चाहिँ एकपल्ट आफूलाई रिकल गर्छ। मेरो पुर्खाहरूले बिना सिद्धिमा बिना चाहिँ त्यो स्वार्थमा राष्ट्रको लागि यसरी गरेका रहेछन्। राष्ट्रसँग त राज्यसँग त त्यतिखेर पनि चुनौती त रहेछ। त्यो चुनौती चाहिँ कुनै अलौकिक शक्तिले कुनै विदेशी शक्तिले चाहिँ त्यो सामना गर्दैन। त्यो सामना गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ त्यही व्यक्ति नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको सब्जेक्ट नै रहेछ, त्यही देशको जनता नै रहेछ भनेपछि मेरो पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरो चाहिँ हाम्रा पुर्खाले पनि यति कुरा यत्रो चाहिँ स्ट्रक्चर बनाउन सक्दा रहेछन् भने हाम्रो योगदान त केही पनि रहन्छ अहिले राष्ट्रको लागि, राष्ट्र निर्माणको लागि भन्ने कुरो चाहिँ उसले त्यो फिलिङ गर्छ। अलिकति त्यहाँ जाने बित्तिकै उसको नेसनलिस्टिक फर्वर भन्छ नि, त्यो खालको चाहिँ उसलाई त्यो आउँछ। अहिले पनि आउँछ।
पालपाली राजा मुकुन्द सेनका छोराहरूले राज्य बाँडफाँड गर्दा छोरा लोहङ सेनले नारायणी पूर्वतर्फ राज्य बढाउँदै गएको र पछि त्यही क्षेत्रको राजा भएको इतिहास समेत रहिआएको छ। लोहङ सेनका नाति भनिने हरिहर इन्द्र सेनको नामबाट यो गढी बनाइएको हो भन्ने इतिहास समेत सुन्न पाइन्छ। यो हरिहरपुर गढीबाट राजधानी काठमाडौँ जोड्ने 2वटा बाटो रहेका छन्। काठमाडौँ जोड्ने सबैभन्दा छोटो बाटोको रूपमा यस गढीलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सेन राजाको पालामा यो गढी हुँदै चिसा पानीतर्फ गयो भने काठमाडौँको थानकोटतिर पुगिन्थ्यो भने अर्को बाटो बागमती किनार हुँदै गयो भने काठमाडौँ छोटो दूरीमा पुगिन्थ्यो। भारतबाट कान्तिपुर जोड्ने छोटो बाटोको रूपमा समेत यसलाई लिइन्थ्यो। 1819 सालमा मकवानपुरको राज्यमाथि राजा पृथ्वीनारायण शाहको नेतृत्वको फौजबाट हमला भएको इतिहासमा देख्न सकिन्छ। गोर्खाली फौजहरू हमलाबाट दिग्बन्धन सेनको हार भएको थियो। गढी संरक्षण एवं सम्वर्धनमा हरिहरपुर गढी गाउँपालिकाले पनि ध्यान दिएको पाइन्छ। सोही गढीको नामबाट नामाकरण गरिएको गाउँपालिकाले रणनीतिक इतिहास बोकेको यो किल्ला संरक्षणमा विभिन्न कार्यक्रमहरू सञ्चालन गरेको छ। यो गढीमा गाउँपालिका स्तरीय कार्यक्रम सञ्चालन गर्नुका साथै गढीको भग्नावशेष जोगाउन पूर्वाधार कार्यक्रमहरू समेत राख्दै आइरहेको छ।
यो हरिहरपुर गढी किल्ला जुन छ त्यो 2200-2400 राज्यको पालामा एउटा किल्लाको रूपमा एउटा राजा हरिहर सेन भन्ने राजाले चाहिँ शासन गरेको अवस्था रहेछ र यो किल्लाले पछि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग चाहिँ लड्ने क्रममा यो किल्लाले महत्त्वपूर्ण भूमिका खेलेको रहेछ। यो सिन्धुली गढीसँग को लडाईँ पछाडि अङ्ग्रेजको क्याप्टन किल्लकको ग्रुपले फेरि यहाँ आक्रमण गरेको रहेछ। त्यो आक्रमणलाई पनि यहाँबाट विफल बनाएर पठाएको जुन विजय किल्ला भन्ने छ त्यो विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरको विजय किल्ला चाहिँ हरिहरपुरबाट प्रवेश गरिसकेपछि विजय किल्लाबाट 1 किलोमिटर माथिको चाहिँ महाभारत रेन्जमा पुगिसके पछाडि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ धपाउन हाम्रो नेपाली सेनाहरू गोर्खाली सेनाहरू सफल भएको। पहिलो त हरिहरपुर 2200-2400 राज्य हुँदा एउटा राज्य थियो। पछि चाहिँ एकीकृत भइसके पछाडि पनि अङ्ग्रेजहरूसँग लडाइँ लड्दाखेरि यो विजय प्राप्त गरेको किल्लाको रूपमा यहाँ चिनारी सुनिन्छ। विशेष गरी किल्ला हो। त्यो किल्ला चाहिँ पुरानो शासकहरूले राम्रो ठाउँमा बनाएको रहेछ। मानिलिउँ भौगोलिक रूपले चाहिँ हामीले मकानपुरलाई तलतिर मधेसको फाँटलाई र मास्तिर हिमाली महाभारतको रेन्ज हिमालको टुप्पो देख्न सकिन्छ। जताततै चारैतिर पूर्व मेचीदेखि पश्चिम महाकाली उत्तर दक्षिण पूर्व पश्चिम सबै क्षेत्रमा हेर्ने एउटा टापुको रूपमा रहेछ। त्यो चाहिँ सुरक्षित स्थान हो जहाँ बैरीहरूले आक्रमण गर्न नसकिने ठाउँ हो। त्यसैले त्यो रमणीय ठाउँ छ। त्यो रमणीय ठाउँलाई हामीले संरक्षण र सम्वर्धन गरिराख्यो भने पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रको लागि धेरै ठुलो कुरा हो। यो हरिहरपुरको गौरवको स्थल हो।
काठमाडौँबाट हेटौडा पुगेपछि हेटौडा हुँदै मदन भण्डारी पथमा करिब 55 किलोमिटरको यात्रापछि गढी प्रवेश गर्ने सहायक बाटो भेटिन्छ। यस्तै काठमाडौँबाट सिन्धुली गढी पुगेपछि सोही मदन भण्डारी पथबाट करिब 60 किलोमिटरको यात्रापछि गढी जाने बाटोमा पुग्न सकिन्छ। त्यसपछि करिब 8 किलोमिटरको दूरीमा यो हरिहरपुर गढी पर्दछ। महाभारत पर्वत श्रृङ्खला सँगै रहेको यो गढी वरिपरि घना वन जंगलले घेरिएको छ भने दक्षिणपट्टि चुरे क्षेत्र तथा मानव बस्ती लगायत कृषि योग्य फाँटहरू रहेका छन्। हरिहरपुर घुम्ने आन्तरिक तथा बाह्य पर्यटकहरूले हरिहरपुर गढीसँगै हरिहरपुर गढीका सुनौला फाँटहरू समेत निहाल्न सक्नेछन्। यसै गरी धार्मिक तथा ऐतिहासिक स्थलहरूमा लोहा सुर मन्दिर, त्यही मन्दिर छेउमा रहेको प्राकृतिक पोखरीका साथै केही समयको लामो यात्रापछि क्यान खोला तथा क्यान दहको समेत अवलोकन गर्न सकिन्छ। हाम्रा वीर पुर्खाहरूको रगत, पसिना र अथक मेहनतबाट आर्जेको यो मुलुकको इतिहासलाई हामीले संरक्षण एवं सम्वर्धन गर्नु आवश्यक छ। यस्ता ऐतिहासिक तथा पुरातात्विक गढीहरूको संरक्षणले नयाँ पुस्तालाई विगतको बारे जानकारी
Nepal sees surge in voter registration ahead of pivotal parliament elections. Total eligible voters top 90 million. CPNUML holds a massive rally in Kathmandu demanding parliament restoration. Weekend markets in Kathmandu and Lalitpur attract locals and expats with Nepal-made and organic products. European leaders caution on US-Ukraine peace plan amid Zelensky pressure. And Biratnagar Kings beat Kathmandu Gurkhas by 5 wickets and Karnaliaks beat Lumik Alliance by 9 wickets in today's NPL matches. I'm Smita Singh Thamang and this is NTV World News Hour coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours. Now, the news in detail. Nepal's Election Commission says more than 837,000 new voters have registered ahead of the country's parliamentary elections. Nearly 345,000 signed up using biometric verification, while over 492,000 used the national ID system, with online registration making the process easier for many. Prime Minister Sushila Karki confirmed the updated voter roll, now totaling more than 19 million. Observers say the surge signals growing public engagement in Nepal's pivotal democratic process. Thousands of CPNUML supporters marched through Kathmandu today, gathering at Rikuti Mandap as the country heads into a tense election season. Party chair and former Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli criticized the ruling coalition, calling for Parliament's restoration and all-party interim government and constitutional amendments ahead of new elections. Analysts say his remarks highlight growing political polarization in Nepal. Oli also defended the party's volunteer force, saying it ensures public safety. Police managed traffic as the rally caused a major concession across central Kathmandu. Weekend markets in Kathmandu and Lalitpur are drawing both locals and expats, offering Nepal-made and organic products. Lee Sherpa in Kathmandu hosts over 100 vendors every Saturday, up from just 5 stalls when it began a decade ago. Labim Mall in Lalitpur also runs a popular Saturday market. Vendors say the markets boost both sales and visibility for startups, while shoppers enjoy a mix of rural and urban products in a vibrant atmosphere. This is our cover story coming up later in the bulletin. European leaders have raised concerns over a US plan to end the war in Ukraine, calling it a basis which will require additional work. In a joint G20 statement, leaders welcomed parts of the 28-point plan but warned against limits on Ukraine's armed forces and any border changes by force. Ukrainian President Zelensky called it one of the most difficult moments for Kiev, while US President Trump set a 27 November deadline for Ukraine to respond. Biratnagar Kings secured their second consecutive win in the Nepal Premier League NPL Season 2 by defeating Kathmandu Gorkhas by 5 wickets at the TU International Cricket Ground in Kirtipur. Chasing a target of 136 runs, Biratnagar reached the total in 17.1 hours, with George Munsey top scoring with 36 runs off 16 balls. In another match, Karnali Yaks dominated the Lumbini Lions with a 9-wicket win powered by Mark Watt's unbeaten 140. As Nepal heads to March 5 elections, rising voter registrations, party commitments and UML opposition are setting the stage for high-stakes political contest. We look into these developments in our issue of the day. You're with NTV World News Hour. Nepal's Election Commission has announced a significant rise in voter registrations following the declaration of new parliamentary elections. According to officials, 837,094 new voters have been added after the Commission extended the voter registration and update period, which ended at midnight on Friday. The Commission reported that 344,914 people enrolled using biometric data, photographs and fingerprints, while an additional 492,118 new voters were registered through Nepal's national ID system. The shift to accepting national ID details for voter registration has encouraged thousands to complete the process online, reducing the need for in-person verification. Prime Minister Sushila Karki also acknowledged the completion of the nationwide voter roll update on social media, highlighting the inclusion of newly registered voters. With this latest addition, Nepal's total number of eligible voters has now reached 19,005,117, a notable increase from 18,168,023 recorded until early November. The surge in voter registration comes at a time when Nepal is preparing for a pivotal election, seen by many observers as an important test of the country's political stability and democratic consolidation. For a nation navigating constitutional transitions and regional geopolitical pressures, voter engagement remains a key indicator of public trust in the democratic process. A total of 44,311 new voters have been registered in Morang district, a significant region in Nepal's Koshi province, as part of a voter enrollment campaign ahead of the 2026 House of Representatives elections. The campaign, running from September 26 to November 21, was launched by Nepal's Election Commission to ensure an accurate voter list for the upcoming elections on March 5, 2026. Morang, located on Nepal's eastern border with India, is one of the most populous and politically active districts in the country. Of the new registrants, 16,413 voters, 7,716 women and 8,696 men registered in person, while 27,989 voters registered online using their national ID details. In addition, 2,872 voters updated their addresses and 671 corrected details on their voter IDs. This has raised the total number of registered voters in Morang to 786,066, up from 741,755. The registration campaign reflects a broader effort by the Election Commission to make Nepal's electoral process more inclusive and efficient, with online registration offering greater accessibility for citizens. Nepali Congress has decided to participate in the House of Representatives elections set for March 5 next year, calling it the proper solution to the country's current political crisis. In a meeting chaired by Acting President Purna Bahadur Kharka, the party stressed the need to protect the constitution and address the political challenges through elections. Congress also expressed deep concern over the deteriorating law and order situation, urging the government and election commission to ensure a fear-free environment for voters. The party condemned the violent events during the Gen Z protests in September, which led to the deaths of 57 people and widespread destruction, while reaffirming its commitment to tackling issues like corruption and good governance. The Nepali Congress has called for a dialogue-based approach to resolve the crisis and will continue discussions at its next Central Working Committee meeting on November 27. Former Prime Minister of Nepal, KP Sharma Oli, calls for a government led only by those elected by the people. Speaking at a public gathering in Brikuti Mandap in Kathmandu, the UML leader Oli stresses the need for the restoration of the parliament, the formation of an all-party government, and holding elections after amending the constitution. Oli criticizes the government's recommendation to dissolve the House of Representatives following the Gen Z movement, saying it goes against the spirit of the constitution. Oli also assures the public that the National Volunteer Force remains committed to ensuring national security. Former Prime Minister of Nepal, also the coordinator of the Nepali Communist Party, Pushpakamal Dahal, condemns the efforts to weaken Nepal's national integrity, claiming that games are being played against the country. In an interaction program at the party office in Paris, Dada, Dahal calls for unity to defend Nepal's independence, territorial integrity, and sovereignty. Coming up after the break, we take you inside Kathmandu and Lalitpur's bustling weekend markets. We'll hear directly from shoppers, vendors and experts about how these vibrant marketplaces are shaping the future of local enterprise. In our cover story. Welcome back. For many residents of Kathmandu and Lalitpur, weekend markets are more than just places to shop. They're vibrant spaces where micro-entrepreneurs showcase their products and Nepal's small business culture comes alive. Virat Anupam explores how these markets are shaping the future of local enterprise.
A premium restaurant in Kathmandu stays open 6 days a week, but on Saturdays it transforms into a bustling marketplace of Nepal-made products and organic farm items. What started over a decade ago with just 5 stalls has now grown to host more than 100 vendors. The marketplace runs from 7 a.m. to 1 p.m. every Saturday. Locals and expats alike flock here not just as clients but as supporters of small businesses and innovators. Here, micro-entrepreneurs from organic farmers to artisans get a low-risk platform to test new products, refine their offerings based on customer feedback, and build early-stage business networks. Many vendors start as hobbyists or small-scale producers and gradually scale their operation through repeat sales and exposures.
Every second Saturday, and I help my friends because they have a stall here, and I help them sometimes.
Vendors make good returns both in monetary and marketing purpose of their genuine local products. Though it is known as the farmers market, startup Nepali entrepreneurs are also part of this weekly trade.
Farmers market is all about expressing your goods and services that you do. Basically, primarily, all of the products are displayed here. For instance, we are the founder of Bamboo Bazaar. We sell bamboo products in Nepal and in other countries as well. And this is the best platform for us because we get a lot of exposure. A lot, not just Nepalese people, but a lot of foreigners. They also visit this place. It's sort of a organic market where you can get lots of product from food to daily use items and a lot more.
Other than La Sherpa, there are other weekend marketplace in Kathmandu. The Saturday marketplace at Hadigaon has been paused after the Gen Z movement. Locals say the Hadigaon marketplace will be resumed after next Saturday. In Lalitpur, Lobby Mall is the go-to Saturday marketplace for shopping since 2019. Vendors and clients gather to make weekly purchases from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. every Saturday. Marketplaces like that at La Sherpa and Lobby Mall has created real urban mix both in terms of emotions and experience. With camera person Binay Desai, Virat Anupam, reporting for Public Service Broadcasting, NTV World, Kathmandu.
Weekend markets in Kathmandu and Lalitpur are bustling with energy, so we hit the stalls to hear what they really think about these hubs for small businesses in our Public Pulse segment.
So Lobby Mall Market, this market has helped us gain visibility. So yeah.
Handicraft business हो यसले हाम्रो यो मार्केटले चाहिँ अब मन्थली यहाँ धेरै बिजनेस त कहिले होला नहोला तर यो एक्सपोजर पाइरा छौं हामीले सबैलाई चिनाउन चाहिँ सहयोग गरिरहेछ हाम्रो यो मार्केटले गरेर
साप्ताहिक शनिबारले हामीलाई फाइदा भइराछ अब नयाँ नयाँ टेस्टमा खाना दिइरहनु भएको छ यताउति अब सबै त्यस्तै हो हाम्रो टेस्ट अब सबैजना भुलभुल भइरहेछ राम्रो छ अहिलेको व्यापार
मेरो आफ्नै डिजाइन हो अनि अनलाइनमा छैन अनि यो भनौँ न मान्छेलाई मार्केटले हाम्रो नेपाली भनेर एउटा प्रोत्साहन पनि छ युज पनि गरिरहेछ
हाम्रो चाहिँ हरेक शनिबार यहाँ राख्न पाइरहेको छौँ त्यही भएर बाहिरबाट टुरिस्टहरू यहाँको फरेन सबैजनाले हाम्रो ब्रान्डहरू चिन्नु भइरहेको छ अनि फ्रेस फ्रुट्सहरू हामीले सबैलाई दिन सकिरहेको छौँ त्यसबाट सबैलाई हामीले क्यान जुसहरू भन्दा हामीले फ्रेस फ्रुट्सको लागि सजिलो भएको छ यो मार्केटले चाहिँ हामीलाई जुन नेपालमेड प्रोडक्टहरू छ त्यो नेपालकै मान्छेहरूसँग पुर्याउनको लागि यहाँ लबी मलमा चाहिँ फरेनर्सहरू पनि ज्यादा आउनुहुन्छ त्यो ग्लोबली पुर्याउनको लागि एकदम धेरै हेल्पफुल छ
हामी जुनेली चिया घरबाट आएको हाम्रो चिया बगान धनकुटा हिलेमा छ हामी जुन चिया बारी भन्ने बगानको नाम हो हाम्रो चाहिँ हाम्रो यो स्याटरडे मार्केटले हामीलाई धेरै सहयोग गरेको छ हाम्रो पसल खोलेको चाहिँ भर्खर 3.5 वर्ष भयो चिया बगान चाहिँ हाम्रो 25 वर्ष भइसक्यो हाम्रो अर्ग्यानिक टी हो साथसाथै हाम्रो ड्राई फ्रुटहरू पनि राखेका छौँ
त्यो बिजनेस धेरै सहयोग गरेछ नानी बालबच्चालाई पालेछ अरूलाई खाछ म खाछु सारा दुनिया अरू गरिब दासले पनि खाछ सबैको जय जयकार भएर
To get a deeper perspective on how these wicked markets are shaping opportunities for small businesses, we have Ajuna Mathema, Executive Committee Member at the Federation of Nepalese Chamber of Commerce and Industries, FNCCI, and chairperson of its Startup and Innovation Forum with us. Miss Mathema, can you hear me?
Yes, Ajit. Can you?
Can you hear me, Miss Mathema?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can very clearly. Welcome to NTV World News Hour.
Thank you.
Let's jump right into questions. How have weakened marketplaces influenced the growth and visibility of micro-entrepreneurs in Kathmandu and Lalitpur?
Well, it's a marketplace. Access to market is one of the most important pillars in strengthening the ecosystem. Its entrepreneurial ecosystem is there. So it's the access to market is what the entrepreneurs are getting. So we have many these kind of marketplaces, but we used to have, like we still have, if you wake up early in the morning and if you are walking towards from Rani Pokhri to Osan and then till New Road also, you will see a lot of vendors, out in the market like a hat bazaar, and it's still there, like it's been going on for a long time. To the question that you've asked, the visibility is one thing. It's direct contact with the customer. They can know the customer, they know their customer base, and what's their lifestyle and what's their preferences. So it's a very good way to interact with their customers. That's the direct contact that they can have. Where they can also know their competition. So I've seen similar kind of businesses in such marketplaces, and it's almost looking at one stall and then similar thing is there in the another also. So for the entrepreneurs, it's a very good way to look at what their competition is doing and what is the value that they are creating and why the customer should come to them and not to their competition. Again, the pricing aspect of it. So they will know the pricing also, and that will give them the exposure of how they are doing in the market. Is it like their product? Is it like making profit or not? And how long is it taking for them to make a profit? And what is their per cost acquisition cost also? So and also because they get the direct feedback, they can improve their product as well. So I think that's one of the things, and it's a low cost visibility is one thing that I have seen to be the most prominent advantage to them.
And what do you see as the main challenges or limitations for micro entrepreneurs in leveraging these marketplaces, and how might these hurdles affect their long-term growth?
Right. So these, so far I've been to most of them, if not regularly, but I've visited most of them, and the one thing that I've seen that looks like a challenge is like their products. There's no standardization of the products, and the standardization differs, is how I should say, and also in terms of supply. So the small quantities, and if I require a bulk of the product that they're selling, they will not be able to do that in many of the cases. I wouldn't say all. Then there is cash transaction too. Of course, there's QR is there. It's very out there. The digital payment is out there too. However, cash is also there. So I wonder about the bookkeeping aspect of it, because it's mostly I can see them and they're fiddling with the money, and I wonder about the bookkeeping, that issues of bookkeeping could be there. Also, if the long-term aspect of it that you're asking, I have seen both registered businesses and also not registered ones also there. So I think for the ones who are not registered, it's a testing ground, of course, and it's good that they have a place to come and test if they are doing correctly or not, and if it's their idea is sellable or not. So they will get that chance, and of course that's going to help them have a clarity on what their business is going to look like in years to come. One is lacking is proper branding, is what I think is lacking, is probably it depends on the facility that's provided to them. Sometimes it's just a table and they have to do it on their own. So branding aspect is also very it's crucial, and of course I also see the price control mechanism. So these are the things which I see as challenge and it's an overall challenge actually.
And looking ahead, what strategies or support mechanisms could enhance the role of weekend marketplaces in nurturing local micro businesses and sustaining their entrepreneurial journeys?
Well, I think it is firstly the facility that's being provided to them. The stall needs to be a better one, and where they have a better form of display. And it comes with it's a marketplace and it's a public place. So the waste management aspect of it. Then also basic utilities like utility facility, washroom, water, basic things that you need to have in a public space. So that the facility part of it is how I see is it's crucial also. It depends on the kind of crowd that you are getting to. And also it's usually the weekends that I see, and but it has to happen more is how I feel too. And if you do it strategically, then there could be variety of products, not the same product all the time, but variety. It could be thematic as well. So there could be different kind of themes that categories of businesses that they can have, and have a flair of products for the customers to come and choose from. And of course, there could be some kind of certification given to the products. If we can have something like that, that would be really, really good. And I was thinking, a place where there is a business support facility to these entrepreneurs, like simple, like I said, bookkeeping, or could be branding, could be research also, and how to use media, that could also be there. And they could like engage school children. They can engage business students from the business school, not just from the first tier schools, colleges, but also from the second and the third tier, so they can come and visit. All of these could bring more traction to the market that is already creating a lot of traction. And talking about scalability and sustainability, that's where the main thing comes in. If we see it as a long-term aspect, long-term business that needs to be there. So I think the business support facility for them to grow more, because they can't stay in the market for all the time. They can have a place there for some time, but they'll probably need to grow more and scale up. So that support system needs to be there for them as well. So I think these are the things.
Hopefully these mechanisms would prove to be effective. Thank you for joining us, Ms. Mathema.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, that was Ms. Mathema, Ms. Juna Mathema, Executive Member at the FNCCI. On to other developments now. In Nepal, the Supreme Court is working to recover case files destroyed during the Gen Z protest movement earlier this year. The fire, which erupted during the during the September demonstration, burned 20,000 of the court's 24,000 case files, severely disrupting judicial operations nationwide. Following a public notice issued on December 16, litigants, lawyers and the Attorney General's office have begun submitting duplicates of lost documents. The court says it has already recovered more than 750 case files, while nearly 1,500 individuals are in the process of submitting additional records. Officials say temporary tents have been set up to reconstruct and authenticate damaged files as the judiciary works to restore normal operations. In total, 23 courts across Nepal suffered damage during the protests, further straining the country's justice system. Nepal's Patibara area, home to the famous Patibara Devi Temple, has received its first snowfall of the season following light rains on Friday afternoon. The snow began last night, bringing cold to the region's officials' report. Patibara, located in the Taplejung district of eastern Nepal, is a major pilgrimage site, attracting devotees from across the country and neighboring India. The temple is dedicated to goddess Patibara, revered for granting wishes and blessings, and sits amidst the scenic Himalayan mountains, offering panoramic views of peaks like Kanchenjunga. The Patibara Area Development Committee has urged pilgrims to stay cautious against the cold. Despite the chill, visitors continued their prayers and enjoyed the rare snow, with devotees arriving in large numbers from early morning. Nearby in Sakwa Sabha, the International Center for Integrated Mountain Development (EC-MODE) has issued warnings about 4 glacial lakes, including Borun Lake, that are at high risk of bursting. Borun Lake has tripled in size over 40 years, stretching 3 kilometers long and 206 meters deep. Experts warn that accelerating climate change and glacial melt increase the likelihood of floods, posing a serious threat to lives, infrastructure, and pilgrimage routes in the region. Authorities are urged to develop early risk reduction measures to protect both residents and visitors. Trout farmers in Darjeeling, who have long struggled with losses, are gradually returning to profitable production, officials say. Farmers report that their farmed trout is slowly gaining market share, with demand rising steadily. One fish farm sold 7 million rupees worth of trout last year alone, marking the highest earnings in the past 3 years for local producers. Farmers now say they are experiencing a surge in demand, with buyers actively seeking their fish. The revival signals a resurgence in the local trout farming industry, offering hope for sustained livelihoods in the region. And before we move on to the updates from across the globe, let's have a look at the headlines once again. Nepal sees surge in voter registration ahead of pivotal parliamentary elections. Total eligible voters top 19 million. CPN-UML holds a massive rally in Kathmandu demanding parliament restoration. Weekend markets in Kathmandu and Lalitpur attract locals and expats with Nepal-made and organic products. European leaders caution on US-Ukraine peace plan amid Zelensky pressure. And Biratnagar Kings beat Kathmandu Gurkhas by 5 wickets and Karnali Yaks beat Lumbini Lions in today's NPL matches. At the G20 summit in South Africa, Ukraine's allies say they will work to strengthen a US-backed plan aimed at ending the war with Russia. UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said this comes after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned his country faces one of the most difficult moments in their history amid pressure to accept a plan seen by some as favorable to Moscow. Zelensky spoke by phone with Starmer as well as French President Macron and German Chancellor Merz, and the UK Prime Minister stressed that Ukraine's partners remain committed to a lasting peace. Neither US President Donald Trump nor Russian President Vladimir Putin are attending the summit. More than 300 children and staff have been kidnapped from St. Mary's Catholic School in central Nigeria, making it one of the country's largest mass abductions. Armed men stormed the school early Friday, taking 303 students and 12 teachers. Security forces are coming nearby forests to rescue them. The incident surpasses the infamous Chibok abduction of 2014 and comes amid a surge in attacks by criminal gangs and armed groups. Nigerian President Bola Tinubu has postponed foreign trips and ordered school closures as authorities grapple with rising insecurity and public outrage. A US-European rift over Ukraine has cast a shadow over the G20 summit in Johannesburg, South Africa, which began Saturday without the attendance of US President Donald Trump. Key leaders present included a French President Emmanuel Macron, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Chinese Premier Li Qiang, Brazilian President Lula da Silva, and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan. Trump's absence highlights tensions as his unilateral 28-point proposal on Ukraine aligns closely with Russian positions, prompting European allies to meet on the sidelines to seek a more workable multilateral approach. Leaders including Macron, Merz, and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer stressed any plan must have European and NATO consensus, with Ukraine facing limited time to influence Washington. The summit also faces a climate deadlock as COP30 negotiations in Brazil continue past their scheduled end due to resistance from petrostates on fossil fuel phase-outs. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa underscored that multilateralism and international cooperation remain crucial to tackling both geopolitical and environmental challenges. The G20 represents 19 countries plus the EU and African Union, covering 85% of global GDP and 2/3 of the world's population. Tragedy struck at the Dubai Air Show on Friday as an Indian Tejas fighter jet crashed during a flying display, killing the pilot in front of hundreds of spectators. The aircraft plunged to the ground and erupted in flames, and the pilot was unable to eject. The Indian Air Force confirmed the incident and announced an inquiry, expressing condolences to the family. Eyewitnesses said the jet was performing low-altitude aerobatics when it went down. The crash, believed to be the first in Dubai Air Show history, comes as India India recently ordered 97 upgraded Tejas jets to replace its aging MiG-21 fleet, highlighting both aircraft's strategic role and the risks of high-profile aerial demonstrations. Let's go for another break before we go for business and sports updates.
Afghanistan is racing to diversify its trade routes after a deadly border clash with Pakistan last month disrupted commerce and strained relations to their lowest point in years. The closure left thousands of trucks stranded, with perishable goods like pomegranates, figs, and grapes rotting, and losses topping $100 million. Pakistani authorities cite security concerns, while Kabul urges traders to seek alternative routes through Iran, Central Asia, and even Russia, where Afghan apples and pomegranates were exported for the first time. Analysts warn that while the shift could reduce dependence on Pakistan, higher costs and logistical challenges remain. The standoff has inflated food prices in border markets and threatens tens of thousands of livelihoods on both sides. China has now established over 5,100 green mines at provincial or higher levels, achieving major gains in resource conservation, ecological restoration, energy efficiency, and emission reduction. In the first 10 months of this year alone, more than 300 new green mines were created. Currently, there are 1,054 national level and 4,055 provincial level green mines, covering over 40% of certified operating mines nationwide. Officials say the push for green mining has also led to larger, more intensive operations, improved processing technologies, and better overall resource utilization, marking a major step forward in sustainable mineral development. Despite record quarterly sales of $57 billion, the stock slipped nearly 3% in the first trading session after the results, dragging major U.S. indexes with it and underscoring how dependent Wall Street has become on the AI boom. The chipmaker central to powering AI models worldwide insists there is no bubble. CEO Jensen Huang says the global economy is undergoing a technological sea change driven by generative AI, cloud computing, and AI-enabled devices, all reliant on NVIDIA hardware. AI spending is expected to reach $375 billion this year and nearly $500 billion by 2026. Close to the GDP of Singapore. That investment has already boosted U.S. economic growth, contributing about a third of activity in the first half of 2025. However, some analysts warn the cost of building AI systems, from massive energy use to expensive chips, may outweigh profits for years. Others say the rapid adoption of tools like ChatGPT and AI-powered services worldwide shows a lasting transformation is underway. Most experts agree that there may be an AI bubble, but it may not be a dangerous one. Historically, transformative technologies often bring early hype before long-term gains. Eli Lilly, one of the world's largest pharmaceutical makers and now a dominant force in the global weight loss drug race, is surging as demand for its obesity treatments skyrockets. The company's GLP-1 drugs, including Zepbound, are rapidly gaining ground against Novo Nordisk's Ozempic and Wegovy, whose explosive global use has helped ignite the weight loss medication boom. A 35% surge in Lilly's stock this year has been driven by soaring demands for its blockbusters Mounjaro for diabetes and Zepbound for obesity. Now, the world's best-selling medicines even surpassing Merck's Keytruda. Lilly has outpaced rival Novo Nordisk thanks to stronger clinical results and faster manufacturing expansion. In the latest quarter, Lilly generated over $10 billion from its obesity and diabetes lineup, more than half of its total revenue. Wall Street expects the global weight loss drug market to hit $150 billion by 2030, dominated by Lilly and Novo. Investors are now watching Lilly's next major product, an oral obesity drug called orforglipron, expected early next year. Lilly's shares briefly reached $1,051, reflecting investor confidence that global demand for weight loss treatments will continue to accelerate. Britain's Daily Mail publisher is in exclusive talks to buy the Telegraph Media Group in a deal worth over $670 million. Daily Mail and General Trust says it aims to finalize the purchase from Redbird IMI, the Abu Dhabi-backed venture whose earlier bid for the Telegraph stalled over concerns about foreign influence in UK media. Culture Secretary Lisa Nandy says she will review the proposed takeover to ensure it meets public interest and foreign ownership rules. DMGT says it hopes to move quickly, with Chairperson Lord Rothermere saying the Telegraph would be developed into a global brand under its ownership. The Telegraph has been at the center of an ownership battle since 2023, when the Barclay family lost control amid a dispute with lenders. A later plan for Redbird IMI to take over the paper sparked political debate in Parliament over foreign involvement in British news organizations.
Now, the sports update. Biratnagar Kings secure their second consecutive win in the Nepal Premier League NPL by defeating Kathmandu Gorkhas by 5 wickets in today's match at the TU International Cricket Ground, Kirtipur. Chasing a target of 136 runs, Biratnagar reaches the target in 17.1 hours, with George Munsey leading the charge, scoring 36 runs off 16 balls. Martin Guptill and Naren Bhatta contribute 25 and 24 runs respectively. Kathmandu batting first sets a modest total of 135 runs at the loss of 6 wickets, with Mohammad Adil Alam top scoring with 48 not out. Biratnagar's Marchand D. Langi, who took 2 wickets, is named player of the match. This win pushes Biratnagar to second place in the points table, tied with Sudurpachim Royals on 4 points, but with a lower net run rate. Kathmandu, with 2 points from 3 matches, remains in third place. In other NPL action today, the Karnali Yaks secured their first victory of the season with a dominant 9-wicket win over the Lumbini Lions, powered by an explosive unbeaten 114 runs from Mark Watt. The Sudurpachim Royals currently sits at the top of the points table with 4 points. The next round of matches will take place on Monday after a rest day on Sunday. Nepal's women's blind cricket team has reached the final of the Blind Women's T20 World Cup in Sri Lanka. In Colombo today, Nepal defeated Pakistan by 7 wickets, chasing a target of 170 with just 3 wickets down. Pakistan had earlier scored 169 for 6. Tomorrow, Nepal will face India in the final at the same venue. Earlier, India had beaten Australia to secure their spot. The tournament features 6 teams, including Nepal, India, Pakistan, Australia, the USA, and Sri Lanka. In a heartwarming display of sportsmanship, blind women cricketers from India and Pakistan set aside political tensions on Sunday in Sri Lanka. At what organizers call the world's first blind women's T20 tournament, players from the two South Asian neighbors shook hands and exchanged compliments, contrasting sharply with the ongoing animosity between their regular national teams. India won by 8 wickets after restricting Pakistan to 135 for 8 at the Free Trade Zone grounds in Katunayake. Pakistan skipper Nimra Rafiq congratulated the Indian side, while India's TC Deepika praised Pakistan's performance. The teams who travelled together and shared moments of camaraderie were not allowed to speak to the press, but the gesture sent a strong message of goodwill amid regional tensions. Against Hong Kong's iconic skyline, thousands of swimmers splashed into Victoria Harbour at daybreak to swim the 1-kilometre course across to Kowloon in an annual race. About 4,000 participants took part in the event, organisers say. Hong Kong swimmer Keith Sin won the men's racing group in 17 minutes 48 seconds, while Nip Seyin claimed the women's title in 19 minutes and 18 seconds. Olympic medalist Siobhan Hawkey finished second in the women's racing group with a time of 19 minutes 50 seconds. Spectators lined both shores despite the early hour, cheering as the final swimmers powered through choppy currents. The event, now a beloved tradition, marked a vibrant return to large-scale sports gatherings in the city. We're almost at the end of our news bulletin, but before we wrap up, let's take a look at the reminder of our top stories. Nepal sees surge in voter registration ahead of pivotal parliamentary elections. Total eligible voters top 90 million. CPN holds a massive rally in Kathmandu demanding parliamentary restoration. Weekend markets in Kathmandu and Lalitpur attract locals and expats with Nepal-made and organic products. European leaders caution on US-Ukraine peace plan amid Zelensky pressure. And Biratnagar Kings beat Kathmandu Gorkhas and Karnal Yaks beat Lumini Lions in today's Nepal Premier League Season 2 matches. That's it for this edition of NTV World News Hour. You can also join us on our social media, and you can also get the latest updates from our website www.nepaltelevision.com. I'm Smita Gising Tamang. Thank you for joining us. Good night.